Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto reaches full potential in chunin exams. Before I start, please support for more amazing content, and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by DryBonesKing and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Uzumaki Naruto sat unusually still at his seat in the Konohagakure Shinobi Academy, quietly listening to his instructor's lesson. Yumino Irika forced himself to keep his eyes on the boy, making sure that he was not planning some type of prank. On a normal day, the young student would not be paying attention to any of the lectures in the academy. To him, lectures were often boring and he had better things to do with his time. Today, however, was not a normal day. The subject of Irika's lecture was one of the few things that Naruto was genuinely interested in, the former Hokage and the responsibilities related to the position. Now, who here can tell me the names of all the Hokage? Irika asked, as the instructor began to eye different students. Looking amongst the group of kids who raised their hands to answer the question, a snort escaped Naruto's lips. Heh, that's an easy question, Irika-sensei, Naruto said, crossing his arms. The Shodai Hokage was Senju Hashirama and his brother, Senju Tobirama, was the Night-Dame. The old man is the Sandame, and the Yandame was Namikaze Minato. Naruto, you're supposed to wait until I call on you to answer a question. Don't just talk like that unless you have permission, Irika shouted, crossing his arms, which caused Naruto to stick his tongue out in defiance. A second passed before the chunin dropped the serious look on his face and smiled at his student, nodding his head. However, you are correct. Although you should give Sandame-sama the proper respect he deserves and call him by his real name, Sarutobi Hiruzen, instead of old man, you are right. Those are the names of the Hokage. Naruto rubbed the back of his head, beaming at his teacher's praise. Wow, Naruto actually knew an answer to something. Ino said with a chuckle. It's the end of the world. Our village must be getting invaded or something. Kiba exclaimed loudly. The class laughed in response to the Inuzuka's joke, which caused Naruto to cross his arms, the grin on his face dropping almost immediately. Hey, I know I don't get the best grades here, but if there's one subject I know, it's the Hokage, damn it! He shouted. I have to know about my predecessors, after all. Alright, no fooling around, everyone. We got more to get into with the lesson. Irika shouted loudly. The academy students quieted down, looking sheepishly at their instructor. The chunin's eyes wandered the classroom, making sure that all students had settled down, before he started to continue. Anyway, as you all heard, those are the names of our former leaders. Some of their clan names might be names you heard, if you remember what we've talked about in our history classes. Irika stated, bringing his hand to his chin. Senju Hashirama and his clan helped found Konoha, after all, and the Sarutobi clan was also instrumental in helping establish our village in the early days after the Warring Clans period. So basically, the Hokage are all from famous historical ninja clans, huh? One of the students, a brown-haired boy with glasses, said with a frown. So does that mean you have to have the right family history to be a successful ninja? That's not necessarily true, Ken. Irika said, frowning at the question. Being from a shinobi clan does help, yes, but the Yandame wasn't from a clan. Naruto spoke up, interrupting his instructor. Namikaze Minato's parents were just normal civilians, yet he ended up becoming the Hokage. Naruto! What did I say about interrupting and speaking out of turn? Irika shouted. Naruto sunk back into his chair, rubbing the back of his head as he laughed quietly. Why you may need to repeat that lesson again, Irika-sensei. Wasn't the Namikaze clan a shinobi clan though? Kiba asked, turning in his desk to face Naruto. Didn't we just learn something about a Namakuni clan or something a few days ago? You're thinking of Nami no Kuni. And that's a country, not a shinobi clan. Sakura noted, frowning. Geez, Naruto even knew that and you didn't. You sure you aren't the dead last of the class, Kiba? Who asked you? Kiba snorted in response. Irika grit his teeth as his class busted into another round of laughter. He was about to blow up on his students once more when he noticed a student raise his hand. Irika-sensei? Ken spoke up. The class almost in unison stopped laughing, giving the normally quiet student a chance to speak. A sigh of contentment escaped Irika, enjoying the silence once again, as he acknowledged his student. Yes? I'm just curious, but since the Yandame was basically a nobody until he started his shinobi career, do you think any of us stand a chance of becoming Hokage? Ken asked. It would be really cool to know that I could become the Hokage or say that I graduated from the same class as the Hokage. Off-topic question. Irika bit his lip, resisting the urge to ignore the question. But still, if this class is going to get off-topic with jokes, might as well let it get off-topic in a way that could do everyone some good. The chunin took a moment to look at all of the students in the room, examining each of them for a moment. He then gave a smile as he turned back to Ken. There is a lot of potential in this year's class. You are all good students, and I've seen some remarkable skills in all of you. If you all keep up with your determination and improve on the skills you all have, I could see any of you becoming the Hokage. Irika told his students proudly. Most of the students in the room looked at their sensei and smiled back, gratefully accepting the compliment. Naruto had a large smirk on his face. Don't worry, Irika-sensei. The blonde spoke confidently. I intend on getting better each and every day. You'll be seeing me as the Hokage in no time. The wholesome silence vanished as quickly as it had appeared, as a few scoffs were heard after Naruto finished his statement. Just because you know some basic facts about the Hokage doesn't mean you stand a chance at becoming one yourself, Naruto. Sakura stated, crossing her arms. She's right. If anyone here is going to be Hokage, it's going to be Sasuke-kun, Ino exclaimed before turning her attention away from Naruto and to the dark-haired boy sitting by the window. Isn't that right, Sasuke-kun? Sasuke gave no response to the blonde-haired girl, seemingly deep in thought. He was either unaware of what his class was talking about, or he simply did not care. What's so great about him? Sasuke doesn't even care about being Hokage. Naruto grumbled, crossing his arms. He's nothing special, anyway. The Uzumaki's comment sparked an outrage from the self-proclaimed Sasuke fan club. Nearly every girl in the class was now glaring at Naruto with small traces of killing intent. He's more special than you ever will be. One of the girls shouted. Whatever. Naruto rolled his eyes, biting his tongue to avoid speaking more of his thoughts aloud. There's no point in arguing more about this. They're not gonna listen to me and I got no one here who will back me up. Might as well shut up and let them finish defending their precious Sasuke. Unfortunately for him, he had already irritated the Sasuke fan club enough. The room continued to get louder, with each girl vocalizing their opinions on Naruto and their support of Sasuke for Hokage. Sasuke-kun will make an amazing Hokage. Naruto will be lucky if even becomes a shinobi. Why does he even think he has a chance to be Hokage anyway? As if that would ever happen. Hey! Enough! Iruka shouted again at his class, who ignored their instructor once again. Ugh, they're all so loud, Shikamaru grumbled to himself. This increase in noise ended up disturbing the Nara, who had been trying to drown out the noise of his fellow classmates, so he could fall asleep. With a loud yawn, he started to look around the room and at the girls in the class in irritation. You should seriously stop trying, Naruto. Sasuke will be Hokage in no time, and he will be the greatest Hokage this village has ever had, Ino said proudly, a pink blush on her cheeks as she stared at the Uchiha. Naruto continued to grit his teeth at each and every response he received. He was about to finally respond and snap until a voice spoke up before he could. This is so troublesome, can you people just admit that Naruto can become the Hokage already so I can go back to sleep? Shikamaru groaned, laying his head down on his desk, trying to fall asleep once again. You're all so damn loud. The classroom became quiet for a moment. All of the students turned their attention to the Nara. Even Naruto looked at the boy with shock in his eyes. You can't be serious, Shikamaru. Ino shouted, rolling her eyes. You seriously think that an idiot like Naruto can become the Hokage? Sure he can. Why wouldn't he be able to? The boy replied with a yawn. What? Does he really mean it? Does he really think I can become Hokage? Naruto's eyes widened further. Why not? Really? One of the boys sitting next to Shikamaru laughed. He's the dead last in our class, Shikamaru. He's nowhere near strong enough to become Hokage. Ugh, they're not going to shut up. Might as well argue back. I guess the sooner I get this over with, the sooner I can maybe get to sleep. Shikamaru grumbled before finally pulling his head up from his desk and turning his attention to the boy sitting next to him. Of course he's not strong enough to be Hokage right now. None of us are. Not him, not you, not me, and not Sasuke. We're just academy students. Wait until we are shinobi and he gets the chance to truly train and get stronger. He'll probably surprise you. Shikamaru mumbled with a yawn. It's at least possible. I can see it happening. You see him being Hokage? Over more competent ninjas like Sasuke-kun? Sakura asked, her eyes wide in disbelief. Shikamaru, you can't honestly believe that, can you? I do. The Nara replied. Becoming the Hokage is not something anybody can do. They need to be willing to work and do whatever they can to reach the position. Naruto clearly wants the position and is actually going to work for it. He has dedication and he won't give up until he reaches his goal. If you can't see his dedication, then you're just being troublesome. Besides, he'd probably do a good job as Hokage in the future. He cares for the village, after all. I'm sure he'd do everything he could to be a good Hokage and keep the village safe and strong. Naruto mumbled to himself, trying to process his words. No one's ever said something like that about me. Sakura seemed as if she was going to reply to Shikamaru's statement, but before she could speak, she was cut off by another person's voice. I agree with Shikamaru-san. Everyone turned their heads to the back of the room, staring at Hinata. The Hyuga poked her index fingers together, looking downward as she started to feel the attention of her classmates on her. She was already regretting speaking up. No! I don't regret it. Hinata took in a deep breath, reaffirming her own statement to herself. Her eyes briefly moved over to Naruto, and a blush developed on her cheeks. If Shikamaru-san can speak up on behalf of Naruto-kun, then so can I. I think that Shikamaru-san is alright. And Naruto-kun has the dedication to become a great Hokage. She spoke quietly. Hinata? She thinks so too? Naruto stared intently at the kunoichi, his eyes somehow widening further. She thinks I'd be a great Hokage? Before any of the students could reply to the quiet girl, Iruka coughed, grabbing everyone's attention back to him. That's enough for that discussion. There are more things we have to discuss today besides who we think can become Hokage. Irika informed the class sharply, crossing his arms. And just because all of you didn't stop talking even after the second time I yelled at you all to get quiet, we're going to have a quiz tomorrow on the Hokage, so make sure you all study, because it will count on your overall class rank. Many of the academy's students all groaned at the chunin's words, but did not speak back. The class turned quiet as they focused in on Irika's lecture. Naruto stopped paying attention to class, focusing on his thoughts. His mind kept repeating Shikamaru's and Hinata's words of support for him and his dream. Naruto had never met anyone his age who actually believed in him. He spent the rest of the class thinking back to his two fellow classmates, wondering what they truly thought about him and his dream. Class is dismissed. I will see you all tomorrow, Irika informed the students. Nearly all of the students in the room got out of their seats quickly and started rushing out of the classroom to head back to their homes. Naruto got up from his seat slowly and looked around for two of his classmates. Hey, Shikamaru! Hinata Naruto called out to them. Shikamaru, who was taking a nap, groaned at being awakened before turning to Naruto. He got out of his seat and walked up to him with a yawn. Hinata, who had gotten out of her seat and was walking towards the door, froze upon hearing his voice. Naruto-kun wants to talk to me. She walked slowly over to him, a blush forming on her cheeks. Just wanted to ask you guys. Back in class today, did you both mean it? Naruto asked softly, looking down. Mean what? Be a bit more specific. Shikamaru yawned in response. I don't remember much of class today. It dragged. Every class drags for you. Naruto looked up, scowling. The Nara shrugged his shoulders in response, and, Hinata spoke up. She immediately looked away as both of her fellow classmates looked at her and began poking her fingers. Why you were asking us and Naruto-kun? The Uzumaki took in a deep breath. He looked them in the eye. I mean when you both said that I could become Hokage. Do you two actually believe that? Oh. Shikamaru responded. That what you meant? I meant it. Hinata nodded her head in response. I think you will be a great Hokage in the future, and Naruto-kun. I think so as well. If I thought otherwise, I wouldn't have said anything. It'd be too troublesome to lie about something like that, Shikamaru said with a shrug. Naruto stared at his fellow classmates for a few seconds in silence before he gave them a large smile. It was different than the grin he normally wore on a daily basis. This smile was more genuine than either had ever seen on his face. You guys are the first two to believe in me like that, and I promise you both that you will not regret it, Naruto stated, bringing his hand to his chest. Thank you both so much. You're welcome, and Naruto-kun. Hinata replied, looking down again as her blush reddened further. Despite that, however, a wide smile developed on her face as well. I was just saying the truth. You don't have to thank me for it, Shikamaru replied, a smirk on his face. But whatever. It's no problem at all, Naruto. You two aren't busy right now, are you? He asked them. Shikamaru tilted his head slightly in response. I was planning on getting some sleep. Maybe go cloud watching. But I guess I'm not really busy. I have to be home in about 2 hours for tea training with my clan. But I'm free alright and now. Hinata replied. Naruto did not fully process their words. All that processed in his mind was that the two were free at the moment. He gave them a foxy grin. Since you guys are free, I'm taking you both to get ramen at the greatest place in Konoha, Ichiraku's Ramen. Consider it a treat from your future Hokage. The boy told them. Before his words could register in their heads, Naruto grabbed both Hinata's and Shikamaru's hands and started to rush out of the room, dragging them along with him. Hey! Slow down. I didn't agree to this. Shikamaru grumbled as he tried to loosen Naruto's grip on his hand. His attempts, unfortunately, failed. There goes my relaxing afternoon of sleep. What a drag. Naruto-kun's holding my hand. Naruto-kun's taking me to get ramen with him. Hinata shouted in her head, unaware of anything else in the world. It took only a few more seconds before the Hyuga heiress lost her grip on Naruto's hand and fell to the ground in unconsciousness, her smile seemingly widening on her face. Hinata! It took Hinata roughly 10 minutes before she regained consciousness. Upon waking up, she was immediately dragged out with Naruto, alongside with Shikamaru. The blonde rushed them through the streets of Konoha towards a ramen stand in the center of Konoha streets. Yo, old man Ichiraku! I'm here! Naruto announced. Ichiraku Tuchi, the owner of Ichiraku Ramen, turned around as he noticed the young blonde sitting down at one of his chairs. A chuckle escaped his lips as he approached the boy, bowing his head. Good afternoon, Naruto. Long day at the academy? He asked. Yeah, it was kinda long, but it's no big deal. He shrugged in response before gesturing to his right. Hey, old man. Meet Hinata and Shikamaru. Hinata and Shikamaru, meet old man Ichiraku. And his daughter I am. Naruto then blinked as he looked around in the stand. Where's I am? She has the day off. I can't overwork my daughter too much, Tuchi said, his chuckling getting louder. He then turned his head towards Naruto's classmates, who were standing off to the side. Hinata and Shikamaru? Welcome. Any friends of Naruto are welcome here. Please, have a seat. Oh. Okay. Hinata nodded her head quickly as she took the seat next to Naruto. It's a pleasure to meet you, Ichiraka-san. Shikamaru shrugged his shoulders as he walked over to the seat next to Hinata's, nodding his head at the ramen chef. I assume you want your usual miso ramen, am I right, Naruto? Tochi asked. The blonde nodded his head, which caused the chef to turn his attention to the other two academy students. And for you too? Don't really have ramen much, so I don't know. I'll just order what Naruto-kun ordered if that's okay, Hinata said, bowing her head slightly. Shikamaru brought his hand to his chin as he tried to think. Damn, it's been a while since I've had ramen. I guess Shio ramen? You make that here, right? I make all types of ramen, Shikamaru-san. Tochi laughed again as he nodded his head. So 2 bowls of miso and 1 Shio. Coming right up. As the ramen chef turned around to start working on the ramen, Naruto turned his head to face his 2 classmates, looking at them in surprise. Wait, you 2 don't eat much ramen? Really? He blinked in response. He stayed quiet for a moment, trying to process their words. Why? I usually eat with my CL clan and my father's not a big fan of ramen, Hinata admitted, frowning. Whenever I go out and get my own food, I usually get something sweet. I'm sorta in the same boat. Normally eat with my parents. Mom doesn't cook ramen. Shikamaru shrugged his shoulders in response. Although I sometimes go out for barbecue with Choji whenever he wants to. Naruto crossed his arms. Ramen is way better than sweets or barbecue. A smirk developed on Shikamaru's face as he shook his head. I dare you to look Choji in the eye the next time you see him and say that. Deal. Naruto nodded his head, grinning back at the boy. His eyes then moved from Shikamaru to Hinata then back to the Nara as he started to rub the back of his head. So what do you all do for fun? Fun? Hinata blinked in response. I sleep. Shikamaru spoke, getting more comfortable in his chair. The hell? Naruto rolled his eyes. Then what do you do when you're awake? Try to sleep. The Nara replied, smirking once again. That's lame. The blonde frowned in response. He then turned his head towards Hinata. Well, what about you? Literally anything can be more exciting than that. In my free tea time, I usually train. I also press flowers and read and press flowers? Naruto tilted his head. What's that? Basically preserving flowers in a bee book. Or tea to make art. Hinata elaborated, a small smile developing on her lips. My mother showed me how to do so. That's cool. The Uzumaki nodded his head in understanding. So do you grow your own flowers then? Like do you garden? 'Cause I garden and that'd be super cool. I don't. Hinata shook her head. I use flowers from my clan's garden. Oh. That's cool. Naruto nodded his head again, smiling. Hey, would you want to use something from my garden to plant? The Uzumaki's eyes widened for a brief second as he started to rub the back of his head. I don't actually have anything with flowers, 'cause I normally just grow green plants and stuff, but I can try growing some flower-blooming plants if you'd be interested. Hinata's cheeks darkened, turning a bright red color. She managed to nod her head, however, as a large smile developed on her lips. I'd love tea too. Heh. Awesome. Then I'll grow something then. Naruto smiled back. He then quickly turned his head back to Shikamaru. See? That's something cool to do for fun, Shikamaru. The rest of Naruto's sentence faded as he noticed that the Nara was laying his head down at the counter, snoring peacefully to himself. Both Naruto and Hinata blinked at the sight of their classmate before a scowl developed on Naruto's face as he poked the boy's forehead, causing him to wince and open his eyes. Hey! What do you think you're doing? He asked. Sleeping. You know. What I said I like to do for fun. Shikamaru grumbled in reply as he closed his eyes. Just wake me up when the ramen gets here. Naruto shouted, poking Shikamaru's forehead again. Hinata giggled to herself as she watched Naruto continue to pester Shikamaru. It's been a while since I've seen Naruto bring anyone with him. And they seem like they're having fun. Tochi thought to himself as he continued preparing their ramen. Good. It's nice that he's finally making friends. With a chuckle to himself, Tochi focused on preparing the ramen bowls for Naruto and his classmates. Something in the back of his head told him this would not be the last time he saw the 3 of them together at his stand. Sarutobi Hiruzen, the Sandaime Hokage, smiled to himself as he stared into the crystal ball in his office. His crystal ball reflected an image of Naruto sitting at his favorite ramen stand, Ichiraku's, with 2 kids from his class in the academy. The Sandaime recognized both of them as Hyuga Hinata and Nara Shikamaru, the heiress and heir of their respective clans. The aged Hokage often checked up on Naruto in his crystal ball to make sure he was doing okay and that nothing bad was happening to him. Seeing the blonde boy sitting with 2 kids his own age having fun and laughing made Hiruzen feel a great joy in his heart. Naruto, it's great to see you have friends your own age now. It's good to see people accepting you. Sarutobi commented to himself. Seeing that Naruto was okay, Sarutobi deactivated his jutsu and the crystal ball stopped reflecting the image of the academy students. Even with the image gone from the ball, the Sandaime couldn't help but see it in his head. Those three, I have a feeling they will become something big. Something the shinobi world will remember. Sarutobi thought to himself. Every legend has a beginning. Sarutobi Hiruzen just witnessed the beginning of a new legend, a legend of three ninja who would work together to help each other grow and reach their true potential. And I'm here. Naruto noted as he walked into Konoha's academy. As he began to walk through the hallways, a few of the academy instructors and students there gaped at his presence. The Uzumaki was arriving 20 minutes before class was scheduled, something he never did. It would be considered lucky if he actually showed up to class in time. He usually arrived 10 minutes late, barreling down the door and delivering some insincere apology to Irika. Arriving early was something nobody had ever seen happen before. It was so unusual that a few of the students and instructors that were already there gave the boy confused looks upon seeing him. Today was different, however. It was the first time in months that Naruto was looking forward to class, if for no other reason than to see and talk with his new friends. Friends. We are friends now, right? He questioned. He recalled Hinata and Shikamaru defending his dream to the other students. He remembered talking to them after class and having lunch with them at Ichiraku's. A smile developed on his face as he nodded to himself, answering his own question. Yep, I think we are all friends now. Upon entering the classroom, Naruto looked around the classroom to see if he could spot either Shikamaru or Hinata. While Shikamaru was nowhere to be seen yet, he found Hinata in her usual spot at a table in the back. Naruto's smile widened into a grin as he walked up to her. Hey Hinata! He called out to her. What's up? The Hyuga turned her attention toward him, her eyes widening in surprise at his appearance. A blush developed on her cheeks as she smiled at him, bowing her head slightly. Hello Naruto-kun. She greeted. Why you're here earlier than usual? You usually show up later. Naruto shrugged his shoulders. Just felt like showing up early today. Anyway, how are you doing? Mind if I sit next to you? Naruto-kun wants to sit next to me? Next to me? Hinata's blush darkened in color as her mind started to race faster and faster. Why yes, of course. She said aloud. Naruto smiled in response as he sat down in the chair next to her. To answer why your question, I'm doing good. The Hyuga heiress noted, poking her fingers together. Thank you, by the way. F for the ramen. Don't thank me, Naruto said as he started to chuckle. I need to thank you and Shikamaru. I had a ton of fun yesterday with you guys. I did too. Hinata replied, smiling as well. She had a great time with Naruto and Shikamaru. It had been a long time since went out with anyone outside of her family to a restaurant. That alone made the experience exciting to her. In addition, the ramen tasted good, the ramen chef Tuchi was sweet, and she enjoyed talking and spending time with Naruto and Shikamaru. The two were fun to talk to and it was nice getting to know both of her classmates better, especially Naruto-kun. Her blush somehow deepened further as she stared at her blonde classmate. Hyuga Hinata had a great time yesterday. You know, we should head over to Ichiraku's again sometime, Naruto said. It would be a lot of fun. Hinata nodded her head in agreement. We should. I'll go find out later if Shikamaru can go sometime soon. But even if he can't anytime soon, we should just head out, he said with a laugh. Hinata's eyes widened at the mental image of her and Naruto at the ramen stand by themselves. Naruto-kun and I eating ramen together? Alone? No Shikamaru? Like a date? She repeated the word in her head multiple times. Her already deeply toned blush seemed to redden even further as she envisioned their date. Naruto tilted his head, finally noticing the color of her cheeks. You're getting really red, Hinata. Redder than usual. Are you feeling sick or something? The blonde put his hand on the girl's head to check for a temperature. This, along with the proximity to her crush and the thoughts currently running through her head, proved too much for the girl. Hinata fell into unconsciousness right then and there, her head hitting her desk hard. Hinata! Naruto called out to her, getting out of his seat and getting closer to her, trying to see if she was okay. As Naruto began to shake Hinata's body, trying to wake her up, Shikamaru walked into the classroom. He immediately turned his attention towards Naruto and Hinata and chuckled to himself. Naruto, you are really troublesome. If she wakes up and sees you doing that, she will just pass out again, he said as he walked closer to them. What's that supposed to mean? Naruto asked, his eyes narrowed. For a brief second, Shikamaru entertained the idea of informing Naruto that his classmate had a crush on him. However, that thought immediately left his mind as he shrugged his shoulders and walked over to the same desk and took a seat next to Naruto. Meh. I don't feel like explaining. Just don't worry about her, she'll wake up soon, he said yawning, if you say. Naruto sighed in response, finally letting go of Hinata's body and letting her sit in her chair. He then turned his attention fully to Shikamaru. How are you? Tired? He replied. You were tired yesterday, Naruto exclaimed. It's almost like being tired is something that can occur more than once. Huh. Who would have thought? Shikamaru said with a chuckle. Humph. Naruto crossed her arms, frowning. Well, screw you too. Shikamaru chuckled in response as he laid his head down. Other than being tired though, I'm good. You, doing good? Naruto replied, his frown turning back into a smile. Thanks again for coming out yesterday to get ramen with Hinata and me. Well, you didn't give me much of a choice. But I had fun, so thanks for dragging me. Shikamaru admitted. Heh. Naruto rubbed the brim of his nose, his smile turning more mischievous. Well, based on what you said you do for fun, I'm going to have to drag you to more things. I need to keep you active and doing things, you know? Or you could ask and I'll probably say yes. Shikamaru noted. Naruto's eye lit up. Oh, so that means, alright everyone, it's time for class to start. Naruto blinked in response. He looked around and noticed that, while he had been talking with Hinata and Shikamaru, the classroom filled up with the other students. In addition, Mizuki, one of the academy instructors, walked in and began to start the lecture for the day. Naruto's eyes proceeded to move to Hinata and frowned. He then leaned closer to Shikamaru. Hinata still hasn't woken up. She's not gonna get in trouble, is she? He asked. Good point. Shikamaru yawned. I'll fall asleep too so she won't get in trouble alone. Before Naruto could even reply to Shikamaru's comment, the Nara was already snoring lightly to himself. Naruto blinked, processing what just happened, before turning away from his friend and focusing on Mizuki. There's something wrong with him. Naruto sighed to himself as he attempted to focus on the lecture for the day. Unfortunately for Naruto, Mizuki's lecture on the fundamentals of genjutsu was boring and long, causing him to quickly lose interest in the subject. He proceeded to pull out a piece of paper and began working on something of much more value to him, a new prank. Imagine paint bombs that go off in Irika-sensei's face. That's not a bad idea. But the question is, how do I go about it? Naruto rubbed his chin in thought. Probably could ask old man Hokage to make a scroll for me with paint sealed in it. But how do I get Irika-sensei to read it? Maybe dash. Naruto turned his attention to his right. Hinata was pulled her head from the table and was currently looking around the classroom, gauging what was going on. Hey, you're awake? Naruto whispered to her, grinning. Hinata looked over at Naruto. Memories of why she fainted came back to her, and her blush returned to her face. Sorry about that, that was so embarrassing. Don't be sorry. You're fine. At least you woke up, unlike lazy ass over there. Naruto replied, pointing to his left to Shikamaru. Hinata giggled in response. The two then became quiet as Hinata started to pay attention to Mizuki's lecture while Naruto returned to brainstorming his next big prank. An hour passed by and Mizuki's lecture finally finished. He then started to walk towards the door to the classroom. Alright class, head on outside. Let's go meet up with Irika-sensei to work on your weapons training, he stated. The students at the academy all nodded at their teacher's words before getting up and starting to walk out. Naruto and Hinata got out of their chairs and were about to walk out together when they noticed that Shikamaru was still asleep in his chair. Naruto rolled his eyes and immediately shook the Nara's body, waking him up instantly. You're going to be late for weapons training. Hurry up. Naruto told him. You woke me up for weapons training? Ugh, Shikamaru grumbled, stretching as he let out a yawn. Weapons training is always the same as it is every day. It's too much work and way too troublesome. Everything's too troublesome for you. Naruto said. Exactly. He replied simply with a yawn. As Shikamaru-kun, you are really should hurry. Wouldn't want to get Mizuki-sensei or Irika-sensei mad. Hinata told him. With a loud, dramatic sigh, Shikamaru finally pulled himself out of his chair and followed Naruto and Hinata out of the classroom. The three were the only students in their class in the hallway. Everyone else had already made it outside. As the trio finally approached the door to the training ground outside, the door opened up, revealing Mizuki. Mizuki-sensei. Hinata looked downward, avoiding the academy instructor's gaze, and began poking her fingers. Sorry for taking a while. Mizuki's eyes moved from Hinata to Shikamaru to Naruto. A frown developed on his face as he shook his head. Naruto, I understand you find most of the lectures in the academy boring, but please don't stall Hinata or Shikamaru, he said. Just because you don't take the class seriously does not mean you should encourage that behavior in other students. If you're late again to lessons, we might have to start punishing you, you know? Naruto sighed in response before shrugging his shoulders. Yeah. My bad. Whatever. Huh. Hinata blinked in response, looking up at Mizuki in surprise. And Naruto-kun wasn't stalling us. That was me, actually. Shikamaru admitted. I didn't want to go to the troublesome lesson so I stayed sleeping. They stayed back to wake me up. So it's my bad they're late. Sorry. Shikamaru knew he was going to get a lecture for sleeping in class again, but it would be less troublesome than Naruto taking the blame for something he did not do. Mizuki nodded his head. He then turned to the door. Well, you all get out there. Irika-sensei already started the lecture. Both Hinata and Shikamaru looked at Mizuki in surprise. Naruto received a lecture for stalling them, but when Shikamaru took responsibility, he received no comment whatsoever. Naruto, meanwhile, shrugged his shoulders and walked out the door. Come on guys. Don't want Irika-sensei yelling at us too, see coming. Hinata said with a frown, following behind. Shikamaru sighed, following silently. Both Hinata and Shikamaru were used to Naruto getting different treatment from other students, even from the nice instructors like Mizuki, but it still bothered them. As far as they saw, there was no reason for it. What seemingly bothered them the most, though, was that Naruto seemed indifferent to the treatment. It was almost as if he was simply used to being treated differently. It was something they both hoped they would be able to get answers for someday. When classes finally ended, Shikamaru said goodbye to Naruto and Hinata before heading home to the Nara compound. Lectures today were particularly boring, and all Shikamaru wanted to do was go to his usual spot in his clan's compound and lay down, cloud-watching until he fell asleep. As he was arriving home, he was greeted at the entrance by his mother, Nara Yoshino, who smirked at him. "About time you got home. I made dinner early and your father and I have been waiting for you," she said. "Come on." "Well, there goes my plans already." "Ugh. Troublesome." Shikamaru sighed before he nodded his head. "All right, I'm coming." Yoshino led him to the clan head's private dining room, which was rather humble in size. It was a small room with a golden-colored wooden table with only 4 chairs and minimal decorations. The only decoration was a painting of a deer on the wall. Sitting at one of the chairs was Shikamaru's father, Nara Shikaku, who waved his hand upon seeing his son. On the table itself was 3 plates that had mackerel, rice, and broccoli placed on them. "I made mackerel, so you better appreciate it and eat with us and actually talk with us," Yoshino said sweetly before she turned to her husband. "Especially since your father decided to not go out with his friends for one day finally and actually eat dinner with his family. I'm here 6 days of the week and she doesn't bat an eye. But I go out once with friends once a week and all of a sudden, everything's different," Shikaku mumbled under his breath. He assumed he was speaking quietly, but Yoshino managed to hear him. Her eyes narrowed in on her husband. "You know it's not once a week, don't say that crap." Shikamaru sighed as he started to poke at his food with his chopsticks, ignoring his parents arguing. "And she wonders I don't talk that much at dinner. Troublesome." The Nara heir was left to his thoughts at dinner, while his parents continued to argue. As he was eating, his mind returned to his day at the academy. His thoughts returned to the conversation with Mizuki prior to weapons training. A frown developed on his lips as he took a bite of his fish. "That's not the first time I've seen Naruto get treated unfairly, but that was so blatant. Why did he get a lecture about responsibility and I didn't? That's just completely inconsistent," he thought with a sigh. "And it's not just Mizuki-sensei either. Some of the other academy instructors are the same way. And I've definitely caught that in the streets of Konoha. Shikamaru?" Shikamaru looked up from his food and noticed that his parents had stopped arguing. His parents were both now looking at him. "You look upset. Is the fish bad?" she asked. "Nah, it's fine, Mom." He shook his head. The Nara heir bit his lip for a second, debating about whether he should vocalize his thoughts about the Mizuki situation. He noticed his parents still staring at him with frowns of their own. With a sigh, he shrugged his shoulders. "You both have heard about Naruto, right? Uzumaki Naruto?" he asked. "Naruto?" Shikaku chuckled at the name, crossing his arms. "That boy gives so many of the jonin here a headache with his pranks. It's honestly amazing how he's able to get away from them for the most part." "Okay, so you know him then." "Good." Shikamaru nodded his head before he let out a sigh. "Do you know why people here seem to treat him differently?" Both Shikaku and Yoshino stared at each other for a second. Shikamaru noticed the slight tension that developed in his parents, causing his eyebrows to raise. Before he could comment on it, however, his mother turned to face him. "What do you mean? Something happened today?" Yoshino asked. "Well, Naruto got in trouble for distracting myself and another classmate of ours and making us late for class," Shikamaru said. "Except he didn't. I actually got both of them late cause they had to wake me up." "Nara Shikamaru, you're still sleeping in class? Even after the last time we talked about this?" Yoshino's eyes narrowed in on her son. "You're about to be a genin. You can't be behaving like this for too much longer." "Whatever." Shikamaru shrugged his shoulders. "Anyway, I confess that I was the reason that Naruto and Hinata were late for class, but Mizuki-sensei did not care when it was my fault. He lectured Naruto and threatened to punish him again, but when I was responsible, he did not seem to mind." He crossed his arms. "So, I was wanting to know. Do either of you know anything about why Naruto gets more inconsistent treatment from the other instructors?" "Naruto, the village is sensitive to him. Probably cause of his pranks," Shikaku said, frowning. "But it's not fair. I only know him in passing, but he's a sweet kid. Sandame-sama adores him." "Yeah, he's pretty cool," Shikamaru admitted. "He took me and Hinata out for lunch yesterday. He's kinda annoying, but he's a nice guy." "You went to lunch with him?" Yoshino's eyes widened. "And who is this Hinata girl?" "I did," Shikamaru said, shrugging his shoulders again. "And she's Hyuga Hinata. Naruto dragged both of us to some ramen stand called Ichiraku's cause we said he could maybe become Hokage one day." "And why are we just hearing about this now?" Yoshino asked, frowning once again. "Shikamaru, I'm your mother. Am I not important enough to hear about my son's social life? I mean, all of this just happened. I really just became friends with them yesterday," Shikamaru answered, rolling his eyes. "And, friends?" Yoshino repeated the word, her eyes widening. "Now you have to tell me about them. What are they like? Do you like them?" Her eyes then narrowed, And I hope just because you met some new people that you aren't going to stop being friends with Choji-kun. You haven't talked about him much either. This is why I don't bring up things. Shikamaru sighed. His mother narrowed her eyes even further, which caused him to sigh. Naruto's really loud and social and Hinata's very shy. But both are easy to talk to and cool. And they're both not troublesome. And of course I'm still friends with Choji, but he and his family are currently at a wedding in some civilian village in Hino-kuni. He's not even here, so why would I be talking about him right now? He rolled his eyes. You should remember that. Are you insinuating something about my memory? His mother shouted. Shikaka laughed to himself as he took a drink from a bottle of sake before speaking. Quit while you're ahead, Shikamaru. You should know now not to fight with your mom. Troublesome Shikamaru grumbled as he turned his attention back to his food. The table turned quiet as the family started to focus back on their food. The silence lasted for only a moment, however, as Yoshino's eyes widened as an idea entered her head. You know, Shikamaru, I'd like to meet your new friends. You should invite them over, she declared. Her son rolled his eyes. Why? Why shouldn't I? I'm your mother. I need to be involved in my son's life. I should be able to meet his friends. The Nara mother huffed at her son's words. And why not? Kids your age should like having friends over. And do what though? Shikamaru asked. I normally just cloud watch here. I doubt Naruto or Hinata will find that particularly exciting. Well, why don't we have a training session? His mother offered. Your father can arrange a training session for you all. The Nara clan head, upon hearing his wife's words, immediately chalked on his sake. When he stopped coughing and regained his composure, he turned his attention to his wife. And what if I were to say I already had plans for tomorrow? He asked her. Well, I'm certain whatever you were planning is not nearly as important as training your son and his friends, right? I mean, he is your son after all. He should take priority over everything else, especially your old teammates that you already go out drinking with each every week. Don't you agree, Shikaka-kun? Yoshino asked sweetly in a way that dared her husband to oppose her request. Naro Shikaku, among his fellow shinobi, was considered a beyond brilliant man. He was an excellent shinobi who could easily fight and outwit nearly any enemy ninja that dared to take him on. His wife, however, was someone his brilliance could never beat. The Nara clan head sighed, knowing full well what he was going to have to say and do. I agree. I'll train Shikamaru and his friends tomorrow. He sighed. I'm glad. I'm sure it'll go really well. Yoshino cheered. He has no say in anything. Shikamaru noted, rolling his eyes. Some Jonin commander he is. The Nara clan head's wife then turned her attention back to her son, a smirk on her face. Then it's settled. You'll invite your new friends over tomorrow for training. Shikaku will help train them with you and we can see if they want to stay for dinner. Understood? Then again, I'm not any better. Shikamaru sighed as he wordlessly nodded his head in agreement. Nara Yoshino seemed pleased with her work. She was excited to get to meet more of her son's friends at school. She was also quite curious with Uzumaki Naruto. The Nara woman, unlike her husband, had never seen the boy and had only negative things about the boy, things that she knew were biased misinformation. She was interested in the boy and wanted to see what he was like. Nara Shikaku, unlike his wife, was dreading the next day. He had no qualms with training Shikamaru, since he had already started training Shikamaru. He also had no problems with working with Naruto or Hinata either. However, I'm going to have to cancel my plans with Inoichi. And he's going to bitch about it for a while probably, especially cause Choza isn't here to go with him. Troublesome the Nara clan had groaned, not looking forward to dealing with his former teammate tomorrow and having to cancel their plans. When morning came and classes were about to begin at the academy, Shikamaru looked for Naruto and Hinata. He found them in the same seats they were in yesterday, chatting with each other. So Hinata's conscious this time. Naruto didn't say something stupid and knock her out again. That's a relief. Means I don't have to ask this twice. He chuckled to himself as he started to walk to their desk. Hey Naruto. Hinata. Shikamaru called out as he took the other seat next to Naruto. Yo, Shikamaru. Naruto greeted, grinning. What's up? Okay, I know this is last minute and stuff so you both can say no, but my mom invited you both to come over to my clan's compound for some training after class. Shikamaru told them with a sigh. No pressure or anything, of course. I'm game. I got nothing to do today. What kind of training? And what time? Naruto asked, his grin growing. I don't know. My dad's going to oversee the training but he never said what he was going to work on. As for what time, well, sometime after classes. Shikamaru told him with a yawn. Maybe 2 hours after class? Works for me. Naruto nodded his head, giving the Nara thumbs up. I'd love to hang out anyway. Training just sounds awesome to me. The Nara heir gave the blonde a smirk back before he turned his attention to the Hyuga heiress. The girl was looking down on the ground, poking her index fingers together. I need to ask my father if I can come. He usually likes to train after C class, so I'll need to see if it's okay, Hinata said, frowning. Sorry, how about we all meet up in front of my clan's compound house in 2 hours after classes end? Shikamaru suggested to them both. He then turned his head directly at Hinata. If you don't show, we will just assume your father said no. Again, no pressure or anything. Oh, okay. She replied, fine with me. Hope you can come as well, Hinata. Naruto told her, which caused her to blush. I'm really excited though. I can't wait to see what your dad has planned for us. Mom may make us dinner after too. Shikamaru noted with a shrug. Just letting you know. Sweet. Naruto exclaimed, grinning. Class began shortly after, but Naruto did not even bother trying to listen. He was way too excited for his plans after class. When classes ended, Hinata told her friends farewell before she hurried off to her clan's compound, hoping to convince her father to let her attend the training session with her friends. Hyuga Hayashi sat at a desk in his study, reading reports on an incident that had occurred within his clan. As the clan head, Hayashi had many responsibilities and duties he needed to perform. As such, he needed to keep up to date on everything going on within the clan to prevent any problems from developing. The incident was a father in the branch clan was refusing to allow his son be marked with the caged bird seal. The issue would have to be dealt with soon, if the father continued his protests. The elders are going to get on me soon if I don't enforce the seal. Hayashi sighed, bringing his hands to his head. I understand his concerns though. I need to have another conversation with him. Father? The Hyuga clan head looked up. He noticed the door to his office opening. He immediately composed himself, setting the report to the side, as his eldest daughter walked into the room. Hinata. Her father greeted, nodding his head at her. Is there something you want to discuss? Father, she started, trying to get out the request she wanted to ask her father. Tu was asked abutum. Hinata, we have talked about this before. Please, work on your stuttering. Hayashi's eyes narrowed on the girl. It is unbecoming for a Hyuga of the main house. Hinata looked downward, away from her father. She took a deep breath, working up some resolve, before speaking again. Tu was invited to attend a training session W with the Nara clan. I request permission T to accept the invitation. Hinata told her father as confidently as possible. Her voice was little more than a whisper, but she managed to get out her words with minimal stuttering. Hayashi's eyebrows rose after hearing his daughter's request. May I ask what kind of training would you be working with? He asked. I am not for certain. I was invited by Shikamaru-san in class today and he never specified. He did say that his father would be overseeing the T training, Hinata answered. I see. Hayashi responded as he closed his eyes momentarily. So Shikaku will be in charge of this training. The Hyuga clan head made a note in his head. Hayashi, although displeased by his personality, had a great deal of respect for Shikaku. The Nara clan head was known throughout Konoha for his intelligence and skills as a shinobi. He wasn't Konoha's Jonin commander for nothing. Hayashi couldn't help but feel curious about how Shikaku trained with his clan and heir. Hayashi's eyes wandered over to his daughter, who was looking at her father nervously. The elder Hyuga repressed his desire to sigh. Although he hated to admit it, as it injured his pride, Hinata was a disappointment to him. The girl was not making too much progress in her daily training at the Hyuga compound with him. Any progress she makes is overshadowed by the skills of her cousin Niji. Even her younger sister, Hanabi, was showing more progress in the clan's gentle fist art. Hayashi was at a loss on what to do with his eldest daughter. If she couldn't find a way to improve her skills, she would soon be replaced as the heiress of the clan. Perhaps training with Shikaku would be beneficial for her. Maybe he could show her something to help. Hayashi thought, thinking back to the request his daughter made. He turned his head back to his daughter, who was still nervously waiting for his response. Clearly my style alone is not helping her make progress. Perhaps this would be beneficial for her. Very well. I will allow you to attend this training with the Nara clan. He informed his daughter. Hinata's eyes widened at his approval. I expect you to not be a burden to Shikaku-san and the others at his training. Hinata looked downward at her father's final words, but she still smiled at obtaining his approval. I won't, father. She told him. If that's all you had to ask me, then you are dismissed. The Hyuga clan had stated. Hinata nodded in response. She bowed her head and left her father's study, getting ready for training. Hayashi turned back to his report and his work as if the conversation had never happened. 2 hours had passed quickly. Hinata rushed over to the Nara clan compound. As she arrived at the entrance, she noticed Naruto and Shikamaru were already there. Ah. I'm sorry for keeping you guys waiting, she mumbled, bowing her head at her 2 classmates. She quickly shook her head, resisting the urge to tear up. I'm really sorry. Don't worry about it, Hinata. We are all actually early anyway. Naruto told her, smiling at his classmate. Hinata blushed in response, starting to calm down slightly. Yeah, you're not late at all. Shikamaru informed her. She took a deep breath, finally feeling relaxed again completely. The Nara then turned his attention towards the front doors to the compound. But since we're all here now, we should probably head inside and meet up with my parents. With those words, the 3 academy students walked into the compound. Naruto and Hinata followed Shikamaru as he led them towards where his parents were waiting. Shikamaru, your place is huge. I can't believe you live here. Naruto exclaimed as he took in the sights of the compound. Well, it kind of has to be. My clan has a lot of members in it. Probably not as big as yours though, Hinata? Shikamaru asked the Hyuga heiress. You might think they are s similar in size. And maybe the Hyuga compound is a little bigger, b but I like yours a lot. Hinata informed him with a smile. No need to be humble, Hinata. I know your clan has a bigger compound. You got the main and branch clans, after all. Shikamaru said with a chuckle. Wait, yours is bigger? Naruto turned his head to face Hinata. She blushed in response, but nodded her head. Naruto whistled in approval. Geez, I need to see that place too. The blonde knew that his friends belonged to notable clans in Konoha, but he never really thought about it too much. As he looked around the Nara clan compound, however, noting the fine wooden floors, the various branching hallways, and the various scroll decorations hanging on the wall, he began to fully understand what big deals the Nara and Hyuga clan were. Conversation stopped for a moment as the 3 academy students walked through the hallway until they reached a glass door. They walked out into a small courtyard in the back of the compound. The courtyard was filled with large trees and had a table sitting out underneath the tallest tree. Sitting at the table were Shikamaru's parents. The two immediately noticed the presence of Shikamaru and his friends and smiled. There you are. I take it these are your friends, Shikamaru? Yoshino asked. Shikamaru nodded in response before turning to his classmates. Mom, Dad, these two are Uzumaki Naruto and Hyuga Hinata. Naruto, Hinata, these are my parents. It's an honor to meet you both. Hinata bowed to the Nara clan head and his wife. Nice to meet you both. Naruto stated, grinning. Your son's really lazy, but he's pretty cool. The hell? Shikamaru grumbled. Shikaku snorted in response while Yoshino started to laugh loudly. This only caused Shikamaru's grumbling to continue as he crossed his arms, mumbling something about stupid blondes. I already like them, especially Naruto, she declared, a smirk on her face. Perhaps we can pound some responsibility into him and get him less lazy. Naruto laughed as well, joining his parents. Even Hinata was unable to present herself from giggling. Troublesome Shikamaru shook his head, scowling. Well, as much fun as it is to mess with my Shikamaru, you all should really start your training. Best of luck, the Nara mother told the students before she walked off to the side to watch the training. The students turned their attention to Shikaku, who had been quietly observing the conversation. With attention drawn to him, he sighed as he pulled himself out of his chair. Okay, you guys ready? Shikaku asked the 3 students. All of them nodded in response. Good. Now, before we begin Shadow Clone Jutsu, Shikaku made the necessary hand sign and a poof of smoke appeared. By the time the smoke vanished, 3 clones of Shikaku stood behind the man. Hinata's eyes widened at the sight while Naruto's mouth nearly dropped to the floor. Whoa! How did you do that? Those look so much cooler than the clones they tried to teach us in the academy. They almost look real, Naruto exclaimed excitedly, staring at the clones. Shikaku smirked in response. That's because they are. Really? Okay, those are so much better than the stupid clones Iruka-sensei has been trying to teach us. I have to learn this instead, the blonde-haired student declared. The Nara clan head gave a small laugh. One day, kid. But the shadow clone jutsu isn't taught to academy students. Requires way too much chakra. Maybe one day, when you have more chakra. The Naro's eyes widened ever so slightly in realization as he brought his hand to his chin and thought, although, with the Kyuubi, you probably have enough already. Maybe he would benefit from it. Naruto grumbled in response but seemed to drop the subject. Anyway, I made my shadow clones for the purpose of sparring with you all, Shikaku told them. With the exception of Shikamaru, I really don't have any knowledge of your skills or weaknesses. Therefore, I will have my clones fight you while I observe them. They won't be giving it their all, just enough so that they test you and give a good fight. I'll see your fights with them and find out what your strengths are. We will then go on from there. Any objections? All 3 students shook their heads. Naruto eyed one of the clones with determination, ready to take it down. Hinata looked at one a little nervously, hoping that she would be able to give a good match and show the Nara clan head what she was capable of. Shikamaru just stared into space, thinking of a strategy he could utilize to best his father's close as quickly as possible. No objections? Good. Then we'll begin the spars now. Good luck, Shikaku told them. With those words, the 3 clones immediately charged at the students. Their sparring began. The real Naro Shikaku stood off to the side with his wife, watching the individual sparring sessions. Both were silent as they watched the spars. Shikamaru spent most of his match keeping himself distanced from the clone. Shikaku knew his son wasn't too skilled in taijutsu, and therefore, would try to keep his distance during the fight. Shikamaru used kunai and other weapons to attack from a distance while trying to trap his father's clone in a trap based on their surroundings. Shikamaru eventually led the clone into the trap, getting it close to a nearby tree. Shikamaru caught the clone within his shadow and forced it to smack its head against tree. He then threw one final kunai at the clone, dispelling it and winning his match. Naruto's fight was a less complex to watch. The boy kept charging at Shikaku's clone, trying to take it down with as much force as possible and as quickly as possible. The plan backfired, as the clone was able to dodge most of the attacks from Naruto's predictable moves. The more the spar went on, though, the more Naruto took advantage. His moves and fighting were getting more spontaneous with each passing second. He was also not getting tired at all, despite all the time and energy. Eventually, Naruto was able to get enough sound, strong hits on the clone and dispel it, causing instant relief. Hinata's fight showed that between her and her classmates, she was the most skilled in taijutsu, most likely as a result of training in her clan's fighting style. Hinata was much harder for the clone to avoid and strike at. She, however, was unable sometimes to get in for finishing blows that would have ended the spar quicker. There was the smallest bit of hesitation in her fighting that the clone was able to take advantage of. Hinata's fight grew harder as time went on, but she was eventually able to finally make a finishing blow and dispel the clone. With all clones dispelled, Shikaku gained their memories, which seemed to confirm his thoughts. He proceeded to get up and walk over to the students. Well, good job you guys. Not too bad at all. Granted, my clones weren't fighting with nearly any of the power they could have, but I was just trying to analyze where you all were at in terms of skill, and I think I got a good idea now. The Nara clan head informed them. Shikaku first turned his head to his son. Shikamaru, we've discussed this before in previous spars. You are clearly resourceful and intelligent on the battlefield. Your strategies are good and will only get better with more experience. However, your taijutsu is lacking as well as your offensive attacks overall. That needs to get improved on if you want to get stronger as a shinobi. Yeah, we've discussed this before. Shikamaru nodded at his words, giving a slight yawn as well. I'll get better soon, Naruto. Shikaku continued, turning his head to the blonde-haired boy. Your overall taijutsu was lacking. You started off rather uncoordinated. Your speed could also be worked on a little. Having said that, you have some remarkable stamina and strength. You also became rather spontaneous as the fight went on, harder to predict and harder to avoid. That's a great trait to have, something that would be good to develop further. Naruto started off frowning, but by the end of the Nara's analysis, couldn't help but grin. I don't know what that means, but I like the sound of that. Basically, you're hard to predict. Shikaku clarified. Gotcha. Then hell yeah, am I spontaneous? Naruto exclaimed, cracking his knuckles. The Nara clan had finally turned his attention to the final student, Hinata. I noticed you could have ended the sparring a lot sooner but failed to take initiative and do the finishing blows. That's something you need to work, not wasting time. You also seemed to get more tired as the fight went on. You understood. Hinata bowed her head, feeling the urge to tear up again. Having said all that, though, you clearly have the best of taijutsu amongst your friends, and you maintained a level head during the fight. Amongst all three of you, you probably would be the strongest from an offensive standpoint, and that's good. Shikaku finished, smiling. The Hyuga looked up in response, her eyes widening. She quickly wiped her eyes, the water instantly drying up. Are you sure about that? She asked. The Nara clan head nodded his head. I'm not the kind of person who lies just to make someone feel better. If I say something, then accept that it's my opinion. I see. A smile developed on Hinata's face as she bowed once again. Thank you. Well, that's basically the things I noticed in a nutshell. There were some little things that you all can work on, but I'm hoping to work on your major issues right now, Shikaku informed them. Naruto, Hinata, and Shikamaru nodded at his words. The Nara clan head motioned for his wife to come over. Yoshino rushed over to her husband's side and stared at the three academy students. We're going to try and work on your major weaknesses that I noticed from the sparring. Naruto, Shikamaru, you two are going to work with me on getting your taijutsu style stronger. Hinata, you will be working with Yoshino on your stamina. She'll also try and make you more decisive in terms of finishing off opponents if she can. Oh, trust me, I can do that, Yoshino said with a wink. Shikaku felt a sweat drop go down his face while Hinata could feel her nerves acting up. Anyway, he mumbled with a slight cough. Let's get back to training. Hinata, follow Yoshino. She'll be working on your stamina. Shikamaru, Naruto, stay here. I'll work on getting your taijutsu stances and styles better. All three students nodded in response. Shikamaru and Naruto opened up their stances while Hinata was being escorted by a happy Yoshino off to another part of the Nara compound. That should cover it for today. Shikaku noted with a yawn as he noticed the sun starting to come down. Naruto and Shikamaru gave no response except their heavy breathing. Shikaku spent their time working on taijutsu non-stop. Both boys, even Naruto, were tired and ready for a break. You all about finished too? Yoshino called out. The Nara matriarch was coming back to the courtyard with an equally tired Hinata. The Hyuga heiress was also covered in bruises and looked like she was about to pass out. Oh yeah? And the boys here are exhausted. Shikaku noted with a smirk. See, your training went just as well though. I think I did a good job today. Wouldn't you say, Hinata-chan? Yoshino asked the girl with a wink. The indigo-haired girl only nodded slightly in response, too tired to give a full nod. The Nara woman then turned her attention to Naruto as well as Hinata. I hope you both had a good time and that training helped. We are actually about to start eating soon, if you both would like to stay for dinner as well. I'm sure you are both hungry after that hard work. Naruto seemed to get significantly less tired at the mention of food. Sure. Thanks a lot. And yeah, today helped a lot. Thank you so much for that too. Hinata was still significantly tired, but was able to make out a response. Thank you so much for everything, Yoshino-sama, Shikaku-sama. No need to be so formal. I thought we discussed that during out training. Any friends of Shikamaru can just call us Yoshino and Shikaku. Yoshino replied with a laugh. I'll call you all when dinner is ready. For now, just relax. With those words, Yoshino headed back into the compound and towards the kitchen. Her husband followed shortly behind, leaving Shikamaru and his friends behind. That was some workout, Hinata? Naruto asked. Why yes it was, she replied, still slightly panting. It at W was helpful though. Oh of course. That's probably the hardest I've trained in a while. No doubt I got tougher from that. If I could keep training here like that all the time, I'd be strong enough to be Hokage in no time, you know? Naruto declared excitedly before turning to Shikamaru. You're pretty lucky, you know that, Shikamaru? Getting to train like that all the time. The Nara gave no response. He was laying on his back on the ground and did not seem to have any reaction. Why, Shikamaru? Did you seriously fall asleep? Naruto asked. No. I'm relaxing and trying to get my energy back. He replied tiredly. Oh. Naruto said. I'm cloud watching. The Nara said as he pat the ground next to him. You two should try it. Huh? Hinata blinked. You're both tired still. It helps. Trust me. Shikamaru said nonchalantly. Naruto and Hinata looked at each other for a second before they both nodded in response. They then laid down on the ground by Shikamaru and stared at the clouds in the sky. The 3 academy students were quiet for a moment as they stared at the clouds passing by. Then, the Uzumaki noticed one cloud float by. You know, that one looks like a bowl of ramen. Naruto said with a chuckle. You would notice something like that. Shikamaru shook his head, trying to hide his smirk. Hinata giggled in response, feeling a little less tired and more at ease. Why you have tea to admit, Shikamaru-kun, that and Naruto-kun is right. It does look like our ramen, eh? I guess. The Nara mumbled in reply. The 3 academy students remained in the same spot, watching the clouds. They didn't speak much, except to mention whenever a certain cloud looked like something bizarre. Instead, they spent the remaining few minutes in peaceful silence. This is actually relaxing. Who would have thought, Naruto mentally noted, chuckling to himself. Guess Shikamaru is right about this. This has been an amazing day, Hinata sighed in contentment. Shikamaru glanced over at his friends, noting the relaxed looks on their faces. He did not bother hiding his smirk this time as he shook his head, chuckling. Heh, guess these two can appreciate a good cloud watching session too. He leaned back more in his spot, putting his hands underneath his head. They're making things much more interesting around here. The 3 friends continued to relax under the clouds, unaware of anything else going on in the world. Okay class, I am going to hand out scrolls for you to all read about the Second Shinobi World War. We're going to read and discuss them in class today. Pay attention everyone, you will be tested on it. Irika stated sharply. Nearly the entire class groaned almost in unison, seemingly uninterested in a boring history lesson and even less enthused with the idea of a test. Only a handful of students did not appear to be fazed by the instructor's words. Naruto, surprisingly, was one of them. The boy had a mischievous smirk on his face as he watched Irika reach into his desk and pull out a collection of scrolls. Irika walked around the class, handing a scroll to each student. As he passed by the desk of Naruto, Hinata, and Shikamaru, his eyes narrowed slightly. Shikamaru, wake up! He shouted at the Nara. Shikamaru pulled his head from the desk and nodded dumbly as he reached out for the scroll. Irika frowned as he gave the boy the scroll, then handed one to his friends. He then moved on to the next table and Shikamaru immediately laid his head back down. How tired are you today? Naruto asked, chuckling. Same as I always am. Shikamaru said with a yawn. Never enough hours in the day for a good night's sleep. Naruto shook his head, mumbling under his breath about lazy friend while Hinata giggled to herself. A few more seconds passed by until Irika finished passing out all the scrolls. He then walked back to the front of the classroom, holding his own scroll. Okay, now open up your scrolls and let's start your lesson. He said, opening his scroll, which prompted the other students to open theirs. Focus your attention on the second paragraph. Irika was unable to finish his sentence. A large ball of blue paint shot out of the scroll, splashing him in the face. He closed his eyes, dropping the scroll. Ugh! He shouted loudly. No one else in the classroom had time to react. Paintballs shot out of each open scroll, spraying all students with different colored paint. The hell is this? Kiba shouted as he tried to rub red paint out of his eyes. Who did this? Ken commented, frowning as he tried to shake paint off his shirt. My hair! Ino shrieked, looking in horror at the green coloration in her hair. The rest of the class turned into frantic shouting. Irika grit his teeth as his eyes moved from student to student. His eyes then focused on the only students who were coated in paint, Hyuga Hinata, Nara Shikamaru, and Uzumaki Naruto. His eyes narrowed on the blonde. Naruto! The academy instructor shouted. All the paint-covered students turned to face the Uzumaki, glaring at him. How did you tamper with my scrolls? Why did you tamper with my scrolls? I don't know what you're talking about, Irika-sensei. I didn't do this, Naruto said, grinning. Props to the guy who did, though. That's hilarious. Oh, give me a break, Naruto! Sakura shouted at him, orange paint dripping from her face onto her desk. A stupid prank like this could only be done by you, and your two friends are the only ones who didn't get paint on them? That's hardly coincidental, you idiot. Naruto frowned at Sakura's words, but he shook his head in response. I didn't get paint on my face because I didn't open my scroll. Obviously the dude who planned this planned on getting me too, and I just got lucky I didn't open it. And now I'm definitely not opening it. Yeah, you didn't open it cause you know you'd get paint on your face. Ino rolled her eyes. Nah, I didn't open it cause I don't need to learn about the Second World War. He shrugged his shoulders. That's ancient history. No one cares about that stuff anymore. Irika's eye twitched in response. And your friends both happen to not open it too? Ino asked, her eyes narrowing on him. I mean, I probably already know everything about the Second Shinobi World War. Didn't feel the need to open the scroll. Shikamaru replied, yawning. No point to bother. I just was being slow today. By the tea time I started to open it, I saw P paint hit you all. So I didn't want to risk opening my scroll, Hinata said, frowning as she poked her fingers. P please don't use me to blame Naruto-kun. I'm so sorry I didn't open it fast enough. Ino frowned in response. Hinata, no one's blaming you. Naruto, can you prove you didn't do this? Irika questioned, his eyes still narrowed at the blonde. Can you prove I did? 'Cause I didn't so you can't. Naruto retorted. I would have been a victim too if I opened my scroll, you know? Then do it. Irika said. Prove your innocence. Nah. I'm not getting myself wet with paint. The blonde scoffed. You prove it. Fine. The academy instructor sighed as he walked up to Naruto's desk and grabbed the scroll. This will be the proof. Irika, in his anger, forgot he passed out the scrolls. In this moment, he expected a blank scroll. Instead, he was met with another ball of paint that smacked him in the face, painting his already blue face a lighter shade of blue. Naruto! He roared. Well, there's your proof. Naruto declared, grinning triumphantly. Class continued from there, with Irika drawing attention back to the subject at hand. Still, the instructor continued to keep his eye on Naruto suspiciously. While he technically had no proof, he was still suspicious. He could not shake the feeling that it was his fault. When class ended, Naruto brought Shikamaru and Hinata to Ichiraku's once more in order to celebrate. Oh man, old man Ichiraku, Ayame, you should have seen the looks on their faces. Naruto said, grinning. There was paint everywhere, and I just know it's gonna take a long time to get everything cleaned up. Everyone was so angry, but they couldn't prove it was me, so I got away with it. Good work then. I am, the daughter of Tuchi said, chuckling. I'm impressed you were able to pull something like that off. I mean, you had to pull a fast one on your academy instructor too. Well, in order to pull it off right, I did need some help. He admitted, elbowing both Hinata and Shikamaru. Hinata looked down slightly, blushing in response, while Shikamaru simply waved his hand in acknowledgement of his guilt. Shikamaru-san. Hinata-san. Tuchi gasped dramatically, bringing his hands to his face in fake shock. You both helped? Is Naruto that much a bad influence on you too? Bad influence? Hey! Naruto frowned. He's not. A giggle escaped Hinata's lips. We just offered to help. And Naruto-kun managed to get to the reading scrolls yesterday, and I just had one of my sea clansmen's CLP paint in them. Hinata was still uncertain how she managed to convince her former caretaker, Hyuga Ko, to actually go along with her request. He was normally so stoic and followed the rules all the time. She could even tell that he disapproved of the prank still, though, he went along with it. She would need to thank him somehow. They actually did stuff. I did nothing, unless you count giving Naruto some solid advice and arguments on how to avoid getting blamed. Shikamaru said, shrugging his shoulders. Hey, that helped a ton. I'd probably be cleaning everything up right now if it wasn't for you. Naruto said, his arms swinging around Shikamaru's shoulder. Thanks a lot. No need to thank me. Shikamaru said, chuckling. It was fun. It was interesting. Well, I got your ramen ready. Tuchi announced as he finished pouring 3 bowls of miso ramen. He then brought them onto the counter in front of the 3 students. Enjoy your lunch, you crazy troublemakers. Well, the ramen is ready. Here you all go, you crazy troublemakers. Tuchi informed them with a laugh as he and Ayame passed out the ramen orders. Finally! Naruto shouted as he reached for his chopsticks. Let's eat! Hinata giggled as Naruto began shoving his food down his throat while Shikamaru shook his head, mumbling something under his breath. The two then turned their attention to their own ramen bowls. As Naruto walked into class the next morning, he noticed some of the students glaring at him. Kiba and Ino, in particular, were scowling and mumbling something under their breath about him. The blonde grinned back at them and waved as he took his seat next to Hinata and Shikamaru. People are still pissed about yesterday, he said. No shit. Shikamaru shook his head, chuckling to himself. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Kiba tries to punch you later. Let him try. Naruto crossed his arms. Hopefully he doesn't try anything. Hinata mumbled. Shikamaru opened his mouth to respond to Hinata, but he stopped himself as another student walked into the room. A smile developed on his face as he waved at the new student. Sup, Choji? How was the wedding? He asked. Naruto and Hinata turned their heads to see Akimichi Choji walk in, a bag of chips in hand. He waved to the Nara, a smile on his face. It was nice. The village was nice. And my cousin's new family were really nice, he said in between bites of chips. Plus her dad's a great cook. The wedding feast was amazing. Shikamaru nodded his head. Cool. Choji's eyes moved to Naruto and Hinata. He waved at them. How's it going, Naruto? Hinata? Gee, good. It's nice to see you again, Choji-san. Hinata said, smiling back at him. Hey Choji, Shikamaru told me you think barbecue is the best food. Naruto noted, crossing his arms as he grinned at him. I just wanted to let you know that ramen is infinitely better than barbecue place. Shikamaru brought the palm of his hand straight to his forehead. You actually were serious when you said you'd do that, Naruto? The Akimichi blinked in response as he stared at the blonde. He was silent for a moment before he started to chuckle, shaking his head. Ramen's good and all, but trust me, if you had good barbecue, you'd know barbecue is better, he said as he started to eat his chips again. And if you had good ramen, you'd know what I mean. Naruto defended. What are you doing after class today? I'll show you what I mean. I got nothing planned. Sure, take me wherever you want, and I'll see. And then I'll take you to Yakiniku and show you a better barbecue place. Choji said, still chuckling. He then held out his bag of chips to Naruto. Want one? Naruto smiled in response as reached in and grabbed a chip. Thanks. Choji then wordlessly moved the bag towards Hinata, extending the same offer. She bowed her head as she reached in and grabbed a chip of her own. He then walked over to the seat next to Shikamaru and sat down. Uzumaki Naruto felt, for the first time he could remember, that time was going by quickly. Lessons at the academy no longer seemed to drag and he felt himself more invested in what was going on. Days quickly turned to weeks. He greatly enjoyed going to the academy now and spending as much time as he could with Hinata, Shikamaru, and Choji whenever the boy was available. He was having more fun than he could ever remember having. In addition to enjoying his time more, the Uzumaki began to slowly improve in his grades and practical skills at the academy, as did his friends. Iruka began to notice Naruto paying more attention to class, and he caught him questioning his classmates whenever he had any questions about topics of a lesson. Slowly, Naruto began to improve his grades in class to the point where he could no longer be considered the dead last of his class. Naruto was not alone in his improvements. Hinata could be seen as becoming ever so slightly more confident in herself, which translated into better focus in lessons on taijutsu or weapons training. Shikamaru, also, would get encouraged by his friends to participate more in class and try for some of the lessons, allowing him to receive marks fitting his actual skills. These improvements were further amplified by training sessions with Shikamaru's parents. Twice a week, Naruto, Hinata, and Choji were invited over to the Nara clan compound. Shikaku and Yoshino proved to be strict teachers, but were effective and respectful, only pushing the students in ways that would benefit them. They showed the students the tree walking exercise and worked on improving their chakra control. They also worked to improve their endurance through sparring session and prolonged tree climbing exercises. Naruto could feel a great difference after all of his time spent with Shikamaru, Hinata, Choji, and the Nara parents. He found himself stronger than ever before, found himself happier, and was looking forward to moving on with his shinobi career now more than ever. He finally had something he had been looking for years for, acceptance. Naruto adjusted the goggles on his forehead, grinning as he looked at himself in the mirror. It was only one more week until the academy graduation exam. He was ready to go in, crush the exam, and move on with his career as a shinobi with Shikamaru and Hinata by his side. Things really have been going amazing, he told himself. With a nod of his head, he rushed away from the mirror, grabbed his belongings and headed towards class. Alright everyone, let's begin our review of the material that will be featured in the graduation exam. Iruka spoke as students stared to quiet down. We have only 1 week left before the exam, so it is important that you all take this seriously. I'd hate to see even one of you fail because you slacked off at the last second. Hear that, Shikamaru? Naruto questioned, elbowing his friend. He's calling you out. He can get in line. The Nara mumbled, rolling his eyes. It's weird to think it's almost over, huh? Choji noted, eating from another bag of chips. Pretty soon, we'll all be ninja. I know, right? Naruto grinned in response. It's so cool. I'm a little nervous, but I'm excited. Hinata noted, smiling. I'm hoping we end up on the same genin team. Same here. His grin widened. I'd bet money that me, Choji, and Ino are going to be a team to recreate that Ino-Shikacho trio our dads are famous for, so hopefully you two end up together, Shikamaru added. Naruto was about to respond, but he was interrupted by a cough from Iruka. He turned his attention to the academy instructor, who had a frown on his face. Well, if everyone is so ready to get out of the academy and move on to discussing genin teams, we can move on to the review and hopefully help you all actually pass, he said sharply. The Uzumaki grumbled something under his breath in response, but stayed quiet as he gave the academy instructor his attention. Iruka spent the first hour going over information about Konoha, its history, and its famous ninja that had been discussed during the years in the academy. When he finally finished, he led the class outside to a field with lots of logs. The academy teacher began to review the academy basic jutsu, the substitution, transformation, and clone jutsus, and ordered the students to begin practicing the jutsu on their own. Naruto, Hinata, Shikamaru, and Choji worked together and began practicing their transformation jutsu. All 4 students were able to transform into identical copies of various academy teachers, with Naruto having the most realistic transformation with his version of Iruka. After they realized they were down with the transformation jutsu, they started working on the substitution jutsu. All 4 students were able to replace themselves with any of the nearby logs. 2 for 2. This test is going to be a joke, you know. Naruto cheered. It's not meant to be hard. It's just about the basic skills needed to be a ninja, which we all clearly qualify. Shikamaru replied, rolling his eyes. Anyway, let's get down with the clone jutsu so we can be done with this and I can go to sleep. All 4 students made the necessary hand signs for the jutsu. A poof of smoke filled the air around them. When the smoke cleared, perfect clones of Shikamaru, Hinata, and Choji appeared. Naruto, however, only created one, seemingly dead blob that could be barely considered a clone. Ugh, again? Naruto rolled his eyes. Why does this keep happening? I've improved my chakra control and everything. Why can't I make even one stupid clone? Maybe you're not using enough chakra? Choji asked. That can't be it. Naruto shook his head. I feel like I'm already using a lot. We can always see. Shikamaru said as he turned to Hinata. Hinata, can't you check with your Byakugan? See if Naruto needs to use more chakra? Ah. The Hyuga nodded her head in understanding as she made hand signs and activated her clan's dojutsu. Naruto-kun, see, could you try the C-clone jutsu once more please? Naruto nodded his head and made the necessary hand sign. Hinata gasped as she watched him channel his chakra. A poof of smoke filled the air and when dissipated, revealed a similar pathetic-looking clone on the ground. And Naruto-kun, that was so much chakra. Way too much. She shook her head. The amount of chakra he used for such a simple jutsu seemingly overwhelmed her. Why you're going to need to use a whole lot less? Naruto raised an eyebrow at her in confusion, but nodded his head as he wordlessly made the hand sign again. He channeled chakra once more, making sure to limit the amount of chakra used. Upon completing his jutsu, he created another dead-looking clone on the ground. What gives? He grumbled. Hinata frowned. Still too much. Oh come on. I was hardly using any that time. Naruto shouted in frustration as he made the hand signs. Clone jutsu. Once again, another dead-looking clone appeared on the ground. He rolled his eyes as he made another attempt. He continued to try making clones until Iruka spoke up, informing all the students that it was time for weapons training. With an annoyed sigh, Naruto walked forward ahead of his friends, trying to get weapons training over with as quick as he could so he could get back to practice. Hinata, Shikamaru, and Choji all looked at him, confused expressions on their faces. It doesn't make sense though. Most people have problems getting enough chakra. How is that his problem is that he uses too much? Choji wondered. And Naruto-kun has one of the largest chakra supplies I've ever seen. Hinata admitted, shaking her head. It's even larger than my father's chakra supply. That's unreal. Choji whistled in approval. That's going to make him an amazing ninja later though. He's never going to have problems with chakra exhaustion. Yeah, but it's a problem right now. A troublesome problem. Shikamaru mumbled. The Nara knew that, due to technicalities, Naruto could fail the test if he was unable to produce a single clone, which caused him to scowl. That would be idiotic to fail him for that. Punishing him for a large chakra supply? When that's actively going to help him as a ninja. Hey! Dad, Shikaka sighed. He had only just gotten him from a long day of work with paperwork for the Shinobi Council and a late meeting with the Sandaime. He wanted a few minutes alone in his compound's private cellar to drink sake and de-stress. Not even a minute had passed by and his alone time had already been disturbed as Shikamaru ran into the cellar. Yes? He grumbled as he sat his bottle down on a small table. It's a troublesome situation, I know, but I got to ask about it. We were working on the clone jutsu and Hinata, Choji, and I noticed Naruto having problems with it. Was wondering if you knew anything that could help him out, since it'd be a pain if he couldn't graduate because of such a stupid problem. Shikamaru said, sighing. Shikaka had an idea what his son was referring to, but needed confirmation. Well, what kind of problems are we talking about? Chakra. Shikamaru answered. Hinata checked with his Byakugan. Naruto's got a huge chakra reserve and is seemingly incapable of using the little amount of chakra needed for the jutsu. The Kyuubi's chakra is probably to blame for that. Shikaka noted, shaking his head. Most people have issues with too little chakra. This kid's issue is the exact opposite. That'll help him out later, but right now that's a pain. I know Yoshino and I have helped him out with his chakra control. This kid is getting better at it, but if he's made no improvements with the jutsu yet, he probably never will be able to create a standard clone. The man's eyes widened as a solution occurred to him. Wait, he probably can't ever do standard clones. But what about a different type of clone? Shikamaru, invite your friends over for a training session tomorrow. Don't worry about Naruto. I got an idea that'll help him out. He told his son. All right. I can do that. Shikamaru nodded his head. With his concern addressed, Shikamaru walked off, heading to his usual cloud-watching spot. Shikaku remained in his seat, still thinking about Naruto and his issue with clones. If this were anyone else, I'd be worried to show them how to do shadow clones. But Naruto should be fine. He's got enough stamina and chakra to pull it off, troublesome kid. Shikaku noted. Chuckling, he picked up his bottle of sake and started to drink once again. The next day came quickly. Shikamaru brought Naruto and Hinata to his clan's compound after class and walked to the courtyard. Both Shikaku and Yoshino were standing in the courtyard, their eyes on the three students. Choji didn't feel like coming today? Yoshino asked. Yeah, he wasn't feeling too good in class today and went home. We stopped by the Akimichi compound on the way here to check on him, and he said he was getting sick, Shikamaru said, frowning. His mother frowned. That's not good at all. I'm going to stop by and see what's wrong with him after training. Later though. We got training to do, Shikaku stated, getting everyone's attention. Today, Yoshino will be working on improving your chakra control further. Yoshino's sadness went away in seconds and was replaced with a sadistic grin on her face. She instinctively reached for a blunted kunai and pointed it at the group of academy students, who all instinctively backed away. What do you intend on doing with those, Mom? Shikamaru asked. If you all are quick on your feet, you won't have to find out, she replied, her grin widening. Hinata turned to look at her classmate. Shikamaru-kun, your mother is terrifying. As if reading her mind, Shikamaru shook his head. At least you don't have to live with her. The Nara clan head chuckled before he continued to speak. Anyway, she'll work on chakra control today for about an hour. I'll tell you what we will do when you are done and recovered. His eyes then moved over to Naruto. However, Naruto, can I borrow you for a little bit before you join your friends with chakra control training? Huh? Naruto blinked in response, pointing to himself, before he shrugged his shoulders. Sure? Why not? Then join up when done. Anyway, Hinata, Shikamaru. Follow me, Yoshino shouted excitedly as she walked towards some of the large trees in the back of the compound, reaching for a second dulled kunai. Wish us luck, and Naruto-kun, Hinata mumbled as she and Shikamaru both followed his mother. A few seconds passed until they were out of sight. Now along with Naruto, Shikaku crossed his arms. Shikamaru told me you were having trouble with the clone jutsu. Asked if I knew any way to get around having too much chakra. He said, Humph. The blonde scoffed. Yeah, I know. It sucks. The words died on his lip as his eyes started to widen. Wait, can you help me with it? With the basic clone jutsu? Nah. Shikaku chuckled in response. Huh? Naruto blinked in response. You have too much chakra from what I understand. Nothing's going to fix that. While you can definitely better your chakra control to better use your chakra, if you genuinely have too much chakra for such a technique, you're physically incapable of creating regular clones, so you probably will never get the jutsu down with any help. The Nara clan head informed him. Really? He asked, starting to frown. He shook his head, biting his lip. Then what the hell am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to graduate without it? Am I just supposed to quit or something? 'Cause that's bullshit. This jutsu shouldn't be a requirement then if, kid. Naruto. Relax. Shikaku said, raising one of his hands. Naruto quit talking, but still silently glared at the ground. The look on his face caused Shikaku to chuckle. I said you probably would never be able to do a basic clone. That doesn't mean you can't graduate. How about you learn how to use a different kind of clone technique? Before Naruto had the chance to respond, Shikaku made a hand sign. After channeling chakra, a poof of smoke filled the area. When it dissipated, a second Shikaku stood side by side with him. Both smirked at Naruto. If you have too much chakra for simple clones, then we'll just use your chakra for a more powerful technique that needs more chakra. Shikaku stated. You still interested in learning shadow clones? The clone asked. Naruto's eyes widened once again as he started to grin. No way. Are you serious? Hell yeah. Naruto shouted loudly. I get to learn this epic jutsu that's way more useful and pass the test. This is awesome. Kid, calm down. You still have to learn it. Shikaku told him with a chuckle. Of course I'll learn it. I'm way too awesome not to learn it. Uzumaki replied. This earned a snort of laughter from the Nara clan head. I swear, no kid should get me to laugh this much. Uzumaki Naruto, you have way too much energy and excitement. You are troublesome but in a good way. Well, if you're so awesome then you best be ready. I can promise you it won't be easy. Shikaku noted. I'm going to show you how to do the jutsu one more time. Watch carefully. We'll then work on your execution. Naruto calmed himself down and nodded at the man's words. Alright, let's do this. Shikaku in turn made the hand sign for the jutsu. An hour had passed by since the training began. Naruto was standing with tired, wobbling legs as he panted heavily. You need to take a break soon? Get yourself more energized? Shikaku asked Naruto. Might do you some good. No, I got this. Naruto replied, still breathing heavily. Just give me a moment. As Naruto brought his hands together into the same hand sign, Yoshino walked back to the courtyard. Shikamaru and Hinata followed behind, both panting heavily with bruises on their bodies. How did your training go? Shikaku asked his wife. They're getting better. They lasted a long time on the trees and were able to avoid most of the kunai I threw at them. I was impressed. Yoshino said, grinning. I think next session, I'll use actual kunai. Maybe the fear of getting hit and a real wound will incentivize them more. Mom, I kinda would like it if Naruto and Hinata actually wanted to come over here again, so please don't. Shikamaru pleaded, scowling. You're so strict with your tea training, Hinata noted. Who tea taught you? My sensei was a no-nonsense woman. Someone who would not tolerate any slacking off. Which was good, because it helped shape me and my team into the amazing shinobi we are, Yoshino declared, flexing slightly as she chuckled. She then turned her attention to Shikaku. How's your session with Naruto-kun? Is he still working on it? Shadow clone jutsu. Naruto shouted as a poof of smoke filled the air only to reveal nothing. He's making a ton of progress, but it's gonna take a little bit more time. Maybe another day of training. Shikaku admitted, rubbing the back of his head. Understandably, since the jutsu is advanced. That's not going to stop me though. Naruto stated as he brought his hands back to the same hand sign. Shadow clone jutsu. Another poof of smoke filled the area around Naruto. As the smoke dissipated, another Naruto appeared. The original Naruto stared at the second, both blinking at each other. Shikaku nearly choked at the sight. Did he literally just accomplish that to prove me wrong? About needing to take another day of practice? I did it? Naruto asked. I think you did? The second repeated. That yup. Shikaku spoke up, nodding his head. That's a shadow clone. Naruto immediately tackled the shadow clone he created to the ground. He rolled around the ground with it, grinning from ear to ear. I did it! Hell yeah! I can make clones! Naruto shouted. Hell yeah! We did it! One step closer to being Hokage. The clone shouted back. Hinata giggled at her friend's excitement, while Shikamaru had a smirk on his own face. The two ran over to the blonde and pulled him up from the ground away from his clone. Impressive. Very impressive. Shikamaru said. Why, you're amazing, Naruto-kun. Hinata said, a pink blush developing on her cheeks. Naruto responded to their praise by pulling both of them into a group hug. Shikamaru started trying to squirm out a little, having problems breathing properly. Hinata had trouble breathing as well, but for different reasons. Naruto-kun is hugging me. He's hugging me. Don't faint, don't faint, don't faint, don't faint. Hinata repeated the mantra in her head as her face turned scarlet. Not again, not again, not again, not again. Air. Give me air. Please. Shikamaru mentally pleaded. Eventually the boy let go. Shikamaru immediately started to gasp over dramatically as he caught his breath. I saw what must have a god calling me to the afterlife, he mumbled in a daze. Ah, screw you, Shikamaru. I didn't hug you that tight. Naruto rolled his eyes. Hinata still seemed to be in some dreamy daze, but was inwardly cheering herself for not fainting from her crush's embrace. Well, from what I understand, you all deserve a break for a little bit. I know Naruto probably does at least. Shikaku spoke, getting the attention of all the students again. Take about 20 or 30-minute break and head back here. We'll work on improving your resistances to genjutsu when you are back. The three shinobi nodded their heads in unison before they walked off together, heading towards a tree. Shikamaru immediately collapsed upon arriving, which caused Naruto to roll his eyes and Hinata to giggle in response. The two then joined the Nara clan heir on the ground as they laid down, staring up at the clouds. Just what we needed, more cloud watchers. Yoshino noted, rolling her eyes. Our son's a bad influence, perhaps. Shikaku chucked in response. But that might not be a thing. And they are rubbing off on him as well, that's true. I like that they are and wish they would rub off on him more. Maybe that would get rid of his laziness. The Nara woman told her husband with a smirk of her own. They really work well together, you know? They just seem to have a desire to help the other improve. They probably would work well together as a genin team, maybe even better than you and your old teammates. The Nara clan head was about to give a sarcastic reply, but one glare from his wife told him it would be troublesome to say otherwise. Instead, he remained quiet and watched his son lay down with his friends. You know, she has a point. They really are all rubbing off on each other in a good way. They'd probably make a great team. Shikaku rubbed the chin of his head. A knock on the door sounded throughout the Hokage's office. Hiruzen looked up from a stack of papers on his desk. Come in. The door to his office opened and Nara Shikaku walked in. The Jonin commander bowed his head. Sandaime-sama? I hope you are well. He greeted. Shikaku, no need to be so formal. Hiruzen chuckled as he gestured forward. Have a seat. How are you today? Doing well. Shikaku said as he took a seat in the chair in front of the Hokage's desk. He eyed the stack of paperwork on the Hokage's desk before he shook his head. I can see you're busy today, so I'll keep this brief. I just had one thing I wanted to talk about. No need to rush. Any break from that pile is appreciated. The Sandaime chuckled. He breathed out a poof of smoke from his pipe before speaking. What did you want to talk about? It's about the academy graduation. Shikaku said, bringing his together, more specifically, the genin team assignments. What about them? Hiruzen asked. I already made arrangements to assign your son with Ino and Choji. I figured that'll be pleasing to you, Choza, and Inoichi. Shikaku shook his head. That's actually what I was going to bring up. I was going to request that Shikamaru get placed on a team with Uzumaki Naruto and Hyuga Hinata. Hiruzen's eyes widened in response. He breathed out another cloud of smoke before his eyes narrowed on the Nara clan head. A lot of care was put into team assignments, Shikaku. Is there a reason you wish to make such a request? He asked. I do not know if you were aware of this, Sandaime-sama, but Yoshino and I have been training them alongside Shikamaru these past couple of weeks, and I have to say, I think the kids have a good chemistry together. And they complement one another. Shikaku answered. I think they'd make a rather effective genin team, as would Shikamaru, Ino, and Choji. Hiruzen mentioned. Shikaku nodded his head, theoretically yes. But I also think that's partially me, Choza, and Inoichi pushing for that trio to be made again. The Sandaime's eyebrow raised slightly. I mean, the three of us want to remake another Ino Shikacho like our team was. And that's why we've been pushing it. The Jonin commander admitted, but I'll confess that I don't think the chemistry is like ours. While Shikamaru and Choji are friends, they don't appear to get along with Ino much, or at least Ino and Shikamaru don't get along. He shrugged his shoulders, which I'll acknowledge that being on a team with each other would probably improve their working relationship, but it's nothing like what Shikamaru already has with Naruto and Hinata. I mean, I play relationships into account when assigning teams, but I don't try and simply put friends together based solely on teamwork. Hiruzen said, his eyes narrowing further on Shikaku. You know that as well. There's more to your request, is there? Shikaku was quiet for a moment. He sighed as he brought his right hand to the back of his head. I've been watching those two interact with my son. And I've seen them make some noticeable changes to his personality and work effort. He admitted. Did you know Shikamaru got me to teach Naruto the shadow clone jutsu? You taught Naruto how to make shadow clones? Hiruzen asked, eyebrows raising. You are aware of the risks that technique can pose to its user. Any reason why you would teach him that? Shikaku nodded his head. Because Shikamaru argued for it, and he made sense. He was very concerned about whether or not Naruto could even learn the regular clone jutsu, and wanted me to help him practice. A chuckle escaped his lips. Shikamaru's a pretty sympathetic person, but it's been quite a bit since I've seen him try and help someone like that. And Naruto and Hinata are pushing him as well, making him work harder in training and not just rest the entire time. Hiruzen stared at Shikaku, processing his information. The two were quiet for a few seconds before Shikaku cleared his throat and pulled himself out of the chair. That's all I wanted to discuss. I've seen those two make some good improvements with my son that Yoshino and I are impressed with, and I think he can help them just the same. And I think it'd be a waste to not pair them together, and see exactly how much stronger they can grow together. He stated, it's close to the deadline, so I do not know if I can easily change my team plans, Shikaku. Hiruzen admitted with a sigh. However, I will consider it. That's all I ask? The Jonin commander said, nodding his head, as he turned around. Thank you for your time, Sandaime-sama. As Shikaku walked out of the office, Hiruzen turned his attention to a clock in the room. It's about time for the academy exam to begin. He noted to himself. He then turned his head back to the piles of paperwork and sighed. Great. More to think about. That would just be more work. The Sandaime returned to his work, but in the back of his head, he kept hearing Shikaku's words. Something told him that today was going to be a long day. Yumino Irika glanced at the clock in his classroom, reading 9 o'clock. He then turned his attention towards the students sitting down at their desks. Everyone was quiet. It was a rare moment to not have at least a single student making some type of noise, but today was not a normal day. It was the day of their graduation exam. It was comforting to the academy instructor to see that every student at least understood the seriousness of this date and exam. Ahem. He cleared his throat, drawing attention towards himself. The graduation exam will be divided into 3 parts. The first part is a written exam based on the information that I, and the other academy instructors, have taught you over the years of basic shinobi theory and history. The second is a test on your efficiency with weapons. The final test will be an exhibition of the 3 required jutsu: substitution, transformation, and clone jutsu. Does anyone have any questions? Everyone remained quiet. Irika waited a few more seconds before nodding his head in understanding. Then let's not waste any time, shall we? Irika said as he reached into desk and pulled out a collection of papers. For the written exam, you are required to answer at least 70% of the questions correct. You will have 1 hour. As Irika began to pass out the papers, Naruto turned his head to the table behind him, facing both Shikamaru and Choji. The two nodded their heads at him and Shikamaru gave him a thumbs up, which Naruto quickly returned. He then turned his attention to Hinata, who was sitting in the chair to his left. Good luck, Hinata, he whispered, a large grin on his face. Why you as well, Naruto-kun? She whispered back with a smile of her own. A few more seconds passed as Irika finished passing out the papers. The chunin moved back to the desk at the front of the room and turned his attention to all the students. His eyes then focused on Naruto, who was staring intently at one of the first questions. You don't need to get 100%, Naruto. Just do your best. Irika told himself. As if on cue with his thoughts, Naruto penciled down an answer and moved on to the next question. A smirk developed on Iruka's face. You got it this time. Naruto was practically beaming as he made his way back into the academy classroom. The class had just finished the second exam and he shone excellency with both kunai and shuriken, impressing the exam proctor. The first exam, admittedly, could have gone better, but he knew that he passed it. Combined with the rush of adrenaline from the second exam, he was now more confident than ever that he was finally going to become a shinobi. It is now time for the third and final test. Please come follow me out of the room and over to the examination area when I call your name. After you finish, whether you pass or fail, you will be asked to leave the building. You can wait for friends outside if you must. Mizuki announced. He then looked down at his papers for a brief moment before looking back to the students. First up is Aburaim Shino. Shino nodded his head before getting out of his chair and walking forward, following Mizuki out of the room. Just one more exam then we can go home and sleep. Shikamaru said with a yawn as he laid his head down. Hell no! We're celebrating when we get out. Naruto stated, grinning. We're gonna have a victory bowl at Ichiraku's Ramen. That sounds good, but I won't be able to go. Choji admitted. It's tradition for when an Akimichi graduates from the Shinobi Academy and becomes a genin to have a celebratory feast, so I have to go to that. A dreamy sigh escaped his lips as he almost started to drool. Both my mom and dad are cooking for it, so I can't wait to taste it. That sounds like so much fun. Hinata said, smiling. Her eyes dropped slightly as she brought her hands together, her voice dropping to a whisper. I wish my family did something like that. Naruto turned to the Hyuga. Did you say something, Hinata? A blush developed on her cheek as she shook her head. And no, nothing important. Akimichi Choji. Mizuki called out as he came back into the room. Hinata yelped, having been interrupted. Everyone then turned their head towards Choji. Really? That fast? Did Shino already finish? Naruto asked. Probably. Shino's good, and he doesn't waste time. He probably did it in near record time. Shikamaru shrugged his shoulders. He then turned his head to his childhood best friend and gave him a thumbs up. You really don't need it, but good luck, Choji. Uzumaki gave the same thumb ups to him. Yeah, good luck, Choji. Do your best. Hinata added, looking back up to him. The Akimichi smiled as he stood up from his chair. Thanks, guys. Good luck as well. Choji left the room and all remained quiet. A few more minutes passed by before Mizuki returned to the room and called for the next student. Names continued to be read. More and more students continued to head to the examination room. A certain tension and nervous feeling seemed to grow in the room with the various students. Amongst her friends, Hinata was the only one to seemingly feel it. As Naruto looked towards the examination room with confidence and Shikamaru continued to try and take a nap, the Hyuga heiress sat quietly looking down at the ground, fiddling with her fingers. Hyuga Hinata! Mizuki read off. Eep! She gasped, pulling her head up. Naruto turned his attention back to his friend. A smile developed on his face. Don't worry, Hinata. You're gonna do great, you know? I am. Hinata blushed in response. Before she could reply, Shikamaru spoke up. He's right. You're a great ninja and you know the 3 jutsu. I thank you. Hinata finally looked at her 2 friends, smiling at both of them as her blush reddened. I'll do my best. Good luck to you two too. Hinata walked back, following Mizuki. Before too long, the academy instructor was back, reading off a new name. That was quick. Naruto grinned. She must have done great, naturally. She knows her stuff. Shikamaru said with a yawn. You're the one I'm worried about. Huh? Naruto blinked in response. Why? A snort escaped the Nara's lips. Because you're an idiot. Naruto nearly yelled. I'm not. And you can bet on me passing, damn it. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Shikamaru shook his head, chuckling. I know you're gonna pass. You're probably gonna do a better job than me, to be honest. Naruto's eyes widened for a moment before he shook his head, grinning back. Yeah, only cause you'll be lazy. If you put the effort into it, you'd get the best grade in class. Shikamaru snorted in response. The 2 friends remained quiet as more students continued to get called back. After more waiting, Mizuki returned to the room to read off the next name, Nara Shikamaru. Alright, let's get this troublesome exam over with. Shikamaru groaned as he forced himself out of his chair. Good luck, Shikamaru. Naruto said. Shikamaru waved back in response as he walked out of the room. Sitting alone now, Naruto began to finally feel the pressure of the exam. A sigh escaped his lips as his eyes moved back and forth between the clock in the room to the examination door, watching as Mizuki came back in to call back more and more students. I did fail it 2 times before. I could fail this thing again. Naruto shook his head, forcing that thought to the side. Hell no, after all the work I've put into this, I can't fail. Not this time, damn it. His mind then flashed images of Hinata's, Shikamaru's, Choji's, Shikaku's, and Yoshino's faces, all of whom were looking at him with confidence. He tightened his fists. They all believe in me, so I know I can do this at this time. Uzumaki Naruto. Mizuki finally called back, a smile on his face as he looked at the blonde. About damn time. Naruto grumbled to himself as he pulled himself out of his chair. A grin developed on his face as he rushed over to Mizuki's side. Let's do this. Naruto followed the instructor as he led him into a small, open room with a large, wooden table in the center. Sitting out the chair was Irika, alongside 2 other academy instructors. Mizuki walked over to the table, standing next to it. Uzumaki Naruto, please perform the 3 academy jutsus. First, the substitution jutsu. Trade places with a log that's placed in the corner of the room. Irika requested. The blonde turned his head to the corner. His eyes focused on a small stack of logs in the corner before he turned back to the academy instructor. He gave them a smirk and vanished in a poof of smoke. A log was seen in his place while the boy was currently in the corner of the room, sitting on a different log. Without hand signs? As an academy student? Impressive, Naruto. Irika smiled in response. The other academy instructors wrote down on their papers, no seeming reaction on their faces. Very good. Now, the second jutsu, the transformation jutsu. Please turn into a copy of one of the teachers in the room. And please, do not use that stupid sexy jutsu of yours. Irika requested, glaring slightly. Yeah? Naruto rolled his eyes as he walked back to the center of the room. I'm not an idiot. The boy made the necessary hand sign and soon vanished in a poof of smoke. In his place stood Yumino Irika. The man was an identical version of the academy teacher in every way, height, body structure, and clothes were all spot on. He even got my scar just right as well. Irika noticed, rubbing his nose slightly on instinct. He coughed a little before speaking. Great job once again, Naruto. Considering that it is me, I can tell that you did an excellent job and could probably pass off as me. I did my best. Naruto spoke in his best imitation of Irika's voice before dispelling the jutsu, returning to his original appearance. Now, the final jutsu. Mizuki spoke up, a slight smirk on his face. The clone jutsu. Please, make as many clones as you can in the room. Naruto took the second to look at the teachers in front of them before nodding his head. A smug grin developed on his face as made the hand sign for his newly acquired jutsu. Mizuki frowned. What's he doing? Before any of the teachers could verbally react to the different hand sign, the room filled with smoke. When it cleared up, 10 clones of Naruto surrounded the boy. Each of them were all staring at the shocked faces of the teachers, grinning smugly just like the original. So, what do you think? One of the clones asked proudly. Shadow clone jutsu? Impossible. You are an academy student. There's no way you could pull that off. I can't even do that jutsu, one of the academy instructors shouted in disbelief. No, they're real. The second instructor said, shaking his head. To see a genin use the shadow clone here, unbelievable. Naruto, you just went above and beyond what we required for graduation. I can't think of any student who deserves to graduate more than you right now, Irika informed the boy proudly as he picked up a Konoha forehead protector and tossed it to the boy. Congratulations. You are now an official genin. Naruto caught it, and did not waste any second putting it on his head, replacing his goggles with the forehead protector. He ran his hand over the forehead protector, his finger tracing the Konoha insignia. Tears developed in his eyes as he looked back at the academy instructors. I'm finally a ninja. Thank you all. Just watch me, you'll see me become the greatest ninja Konoha has ever seen, Naruto declared. Irika grinned as he watched Naruto rush out of the room. Naruto, I'll treat you to ramen when you're free. You finally did it. I'm so proud of you. Mizuki, likewise, watched Naruto leave the room with a look of disbelief on his face. He took in a deep breath, resisting the urge to shout. I knew he was improving, but he should never have been able to pass. He can't produce a single clone. But no, he had to learn the shadow clone jutsu somehow, Mizuki mentally snarled. He took in another deep breath as he tried to calm himself down. So what if he passed? That doesn't ruin my plans. It just means I have to change them a little. It doesn't matter though. In the end, I will get my scroll. Mizuki, I believe there's one final student waiting. Let her know it's her turn, Irika requested. Understood. Mizuki nodded his head as he walked over to the door. Since she's the last student of the day, do you all care if I excuse myself for the day? I had a prior arrangement with Tsubaki. Of course. We are basically wrapped up anyway. Irika nodded his head, smiling to his friend. Tell her I say hi. Mizuki wordlessly waved goodbye to his colleagues, his mind trying to piece together a new plan. Naturally, his surname starts with a U, means we have to wait until basically the entire class is done, Shikamaru said, sighing. Hinata frowned in response. Don't complain too much, Shikamaru-kun. Sasuke-san just left, so Naruto-kun must be close to done. The two friends stood outside the academy entrance, waiting as patiently as they could for Naruto to finish his exam. Both were wearing their new Konoha forehead protectors, Hinata around her neck and Shikamaru tied around his left arm. The majority of the students had long gone, having left with family, friends, or on their own accord. Even Choji had left, as just as the Akimichi had mentioned. His mother and father had met him to pick him up and bring him to his graduation feast. Only a few students were still there, waiting for their family to come and meet with them. Minutes continued to pass as Shikamaru and Hinata continued to wait together. Shikamaru yawned and laid his head down to take a nap. Hinata continued to stand still, watching the door, before she too got tired and started to lay down on the ground. Hey! Guess who's a genin now? Just as Hinata had laid down on the ground and Shikamaru had finally fallen asleep, the two jerked upwards at the sight of Uzumaki Naruto, sprinting from the academy doors with the forehead protector tied around his forehead. Naruto-kun, that's amazing! Hinata stated as she rushed over to him. A grin developed on her face as she stared at his forehead protector. I'm so proud of you, ugh! Just when I was finally sleeping, Shikamaru mumbled, rubbing his eyes as he walked over to his friend. You just had to be at the end of the list, didn't you? What's that supposed to mean? Naruto scowled. I didn't ask you to wait, you know? Doesn't change the fact that we did, Shikamaru said, yawning. A smile then developed on his lips as he looked at the forehead protector. Seriously though, congrats Naruto. You're one step closer to being Hokage. Naruto's scowl disappeared and he was grinning once again. Thanks. And congrats to you both as well. You both are still free to have a victory celebration at Ichiraku's, yeah? Hinata nodded her head. I'm free. Father said I had the day off because of the exam. I'm good with that as well. If Mom and Dad complain that I was gone, then I'll just say I was hanging with you guys. They shouldn't complain about that, Shikamaru said, smirking. Awesome. Then let's head over there fast before the ramen gets cold, Naruto declared, stepping forward. Onward. Naruto, can you wait a second? The three newly appointed genin turned around and saw Mizuki walking out of the academy. All three looked over at the man with raised eyebrows for a second before Naruto shrugged his shoulders. Guys, give me a second, Naruto said as he ran over to Mizuki. This won't take long, so we can still get ramen in a moment. Hinata and Shikamaru nodded in understanding as they watched Naruto hurry over to Mizuki. Before he could say anything, the academy instructor gestured for him to follow. Naruto blinked for a second before he followed behind, moving to the other side of the academy and away from anyone who could overhear. So what's up, Mizuki-sensei? Naruto asked as Mizuki finally came to a stop. Well, first off, I wanted to congratulate you on an amazing job, Naruto. I mean, being able to pull off the shadow clone jutsu, that's beyond impressive, Mizuki informed him, smiling. You have a bright future ahead of you if that's how you start your professional career as a ninja. Naruto's grin returned as he began to rub the back of his head sheepishly. Heh, thanks a lot, Mizuki-sensei. In fact, you impressed us enough that you were nominated for a secondary exam we have here, Mizuki said, his smile widening. Naruto blinked in confusion. Huh? There's actually a secret secondary exam, Mizuki admitted as he pocketed his hands. It's only offered to one graduate each year, and only if there's someone particularly special. If the graduate passes the second exam, then you will automatically be promoted to chunin rank. Naruto's eyes widened. For real? And you're saying I was chosen? Why? Mizuki's eyes widened at the question before he shook his head, chuckling. Didn't you see everyone's faces after you performed the shadow clone jutsu? That's beyond the skill set for a genin. You showed that you are a genius to be able to accomplish that. It was between you and Uchiha Sasuke, but we all agreed you deserve the honor this year. Oh. Naruto shook his head, trying to process everything. Well then, what's the second exam? Well, you actually have to agree to participate in it before we can make it official. It's actually like a small test in of itself, Mizuki admitted, rubbing the back of his head. It's like how you don't always get to pick your missions. When the Hokage has work for you, you must do it. Likewise with this exam, once you commit, you can't back down. You understand? Naruto nodded his head, a look of disbelief on his face. Mizuki noted the widened eyes and the surprise present, causing him to chuckle. A single good jutsu changes nothing. He's still the same idiot he's always been. The chunin resisted the urge to grin. Everything is still going to go according to plan. It doesn't make sense. There was even a question on the written exam today. The only two ways to get promoted to chunin is through the chunin exam or through field promotion. The academy doesn't have the authority for this, plus, why the hell would the teachers vote for me for this thing? They hate me. There's no way they'd pick me over Sasuke, Naruto wondered, shaking his head. His eyes narrowed in on Mizuki. Something's fishy about all of this. What are you trying to do here, Mizuki-sensei? Naruto? Are you okay? Mizuki asked. The question pulled Naruto away from his thoughts and back to reality. He laughed in response, forcing a grin onto his face. Yeah, I'm fine. Just thinking about how I'm gonna pass this thing, Naruto stated, gripping his fists tightly. I'm ready for this next exam. I already just became a genin, and I can't wait to be a chunin already. If Mizuki-sensei is really up to something, then I need to know what he's doing. And if accepting his stupid exam is the only way to find out, then I'll do it, Naruto inwardly noted. Mizuki's smile turned into a grin that almost seemed maniacal. So you'll take it? Excellent, he stated excitedly. Alright Naruto, before I tell you about the exam, let me ask you a question. What do you know about the Scroll of Seals? After his conversation with Mizuki had ended, Naruto had dragged his friends to Ichiraku's. Upon arriving, he immediately spilled the dirt on what he was just informed about. Mizuki-sensei wants you to steal the Scroll of Seals from the Hokage's office for a secret exam to become a chunin? Shikamaru asked Naruto. Naruto nodded his head, which elicited a sigh from the Nara. What a pain. That sounds completely fake. I know, right? Naruto exclaimed as he crossed his arms. There's no way the academy has the authority for that. They don't. That would mean that Mizuki-sensei is trying to get you to steal the scroll for himself. Hinata said, frowning. But why? He was our sensei for years and he is a loyal Konoha shinobi. Why would he try to steal it? Shikamaru shrugged his shoulders. Guess he's not that loyal. He then turned his head to Naruto. So, what are you going to do about this? At this moment, Tsuchi came forward and delivered 3 bowls of ramen for the new graduates. Naruto immediately started to dig into his bowl rapidly. Hinata giggled in response while Shikamaru proceeded to shake his head. Only when the Uzumaki was finished did he continue to speak again. Well, I plan on telling Old Man Hokage about it. After that, I plan on taking down Mizuki personally, he admitted, a scowl developing on his face. He thought he could trick me into stealing the scroll for him, so I feel like I should be the one to take him down. But Naruto-kun, that would be dangerous. Hinata spoke up, her frown deepening. Why you shouldn't go alone? She's right, Mizuki's a chunin. You may be a ninja now, but on paper, he should be able to defeat you easily if you fought on your own. Shikamaru added. Naruto rubbed the back of his head, his scowl shifting into a frown. I guess I could ask the old man if he has anyone willing to assist me, but I personally want to take down the guy, so hopefully they won't interfere too much. Why not let us help? The Hyuga asked. Eh? Naruto blinked, staring blankly at Hinata. Hinata blushed a little at having her crush's attention so focused directly on her. She tried to speak, but no words came out. She then looked downward, her ramen bowl seeming more interesting than ever before. Why do you want to help out, Hinata? You said it yourself, it's going to be dangerous. Naruto asked. After his question, she pulled her eyes away from her food and looked up at him. She took a deep breath before she looked at him with determination present in her eyes. Mizuki-sensei may be a chunin and stronger than us individually, but if we all fought him together, we could take him out ourselves. We would just need to use teamwork, she answered. She then clapped her hands together. Please Naruto-kun, don't fight him on your own. We can help you. Naruto continued to stare at his friend in surprise for a few seconds, which only caused her to frown. After 30 seconds passed, Naruto stopped staring and smiled widely at her. Thank you, Hinata. Sure, you can tag along. We can take down him together with no problem, he told her. Hinata smiled back in response, her blush getting a little darker. Naruto, you realize she said we, right? That would also include me as well, Shikamaru pointed out, finally speaking up as he put his bowl of ramen to the side. Naruto turned to the Nara and smirked at him. You've been quiet for a bit, so didn't know if you were listening to us. Sure it's not too troublesome for you, Shikamaru? Naruto asked. Shikamaru snorted in response. I mean, this whole situation is troublesome, but Hinata's right. Teamwork's the best option and I'm not going to let you two do something like that without me being there to help. Thanks. Naruto's smirk turned back into a smile. I appreciate it. And you're both right. Teamwork's the best option. And together, we're going to kick his ass and personally drag Mizuki-sensei's ass right back to the old man. Speaking of the Hokage, we should really discuss this with him first though, like you said originally. The Nara noted. The blonde genin nodded. Yeah. Well, we can't waste any time. We have to hurry and talk with him, cause it's going to get closer to time for me to meet up with that lying sensei. The 3 new graduates paid for their meal, thanked Tsuchi, and hurried over to the Hokage tower, ready to talk to the Hokage about their plan. Mizuki could not hide his grin as he rushed through the forests around Konohagakure, looking for the meeting point. Everything was going according to plan and he was one step closer to being done with Konoha. In the end, it really didn't matter if the brat passed or not. I still convinced him to steal the scroll. In the end, that demon brat is still too naive to be a proper shinobi. He noted, chuckling to himself. I still convinced him to steal the scroll for me. Now, to collect my prize. The chunin did have a slight concern that Naruto could deny the request, as his original plan mostly relied on capitalizing on Naruto's desperation to become a genin, using that to make him go against any better judgment. He was relieved to hear the boy still stupidly believed his lie about promoting him to a chunin. Everything was going according to plan. All that was left to do was meet up with Naruto, take the scroll from him, possibly kill him, and head off to Otogakure. Mizuki continued to move through the forests around Konoha, searching for the clearing he told the boy earlier. After a few minutes of searching, the white-haired chunin found him at the meeting spot, holding a large scroll. Hey! Naruto! Mizuki shouted to him as he jumped down into the clearing. Naruto tensed up in response. You really did it, you got the scroll. I knew you would be able to do it. Hell, what can I say? I'm going to be Hokage after all that Abeo. And now I'm one step closer to getting there. Naruto informed with a large grin. That is true, and you're going to make a great Hokage. Mizuki chuckled as he held out his hand. Now, hand over the scroll to me. I can test you on one of the jutsus then. The Uzumaki shook his head, his grin widening further. No need for that, sensei. Watch this, Shadow Clone Jutsu. 3 shadow clones appeared in a poof of smoke standing right behind Naruto. This is crazy, I know, but the shadow clone jutsu was actually one of the jutsu in the scroll. So technically, I already passed the second test when I did the first one. Pretty awesome, sensei? Naruto informed the man in front of him. Mizuki blinked in response. He stood still for a moment, his brain taking a few extra seconds to process Naruto's words, before he chuckled again in response as he shook his head. I see. That's pretty lucky. And maybe just a little bit too convenient, Mizuki noted as he extended his hand outward further. As a matter of fact, I'm going to have to see if that jutsu is actually in the scroll to confirm that. Sure thing, Mizuki-sensei. I'll show you when we get back to Konoha though. Naruto responded, bringing his hands behind his head. It's getting kind of late and any longer and the Hokage might actually start to need his scroll back, you know? Mizuki's eye twitched. He took in a deep breath, trying to think of an appropriate response to the boy's statement. The response he chose was to reach for the Fuma shuriken attached to his back. Hand the scroll over to me now. Mizuki shouted. Yep, we were right about all of this. Naruto bit his lip, resisting the urge to smirk. Instead, he brought his hands directly in front of his face defensively. What's going on, Mizuki-sensei? Oh, let's just get back to Konoha, and I'll show you the scroll there. Haven't figured it out yet, Naruto? Well, then let me spell it out to you. There is no chunin graduation exam. Mizuki shouted, spinning the shuriken in his hand in a clockwise fashion. What you did was help me steal the scroll, and now you're going to hand it over, or else you're going to die right here. Before Naruto could even reply to his threat, Mizuki chucked the shuriken forward, causing it to fly directly at Naruto's body. Say goodbye, brat. To his surprise, the scared, nervous Naruto steadied himself, and jumped out of the way of the giant shuriken. He then tossed his own, smaller shuriken at the chunin. What? Mizuki's eyes widened as he jumped away, avoiding the blonde's weapons. That reaction time makes no sense. He should have been too shocked and scared to react. What the hell? Once again, to the chunin's surprise, more shuriken flew at him at different angles from the forest. The white-haired man jumped out as quickly as he could but managed to still get hit by one shuriken in his side. He winced in pain for a second as his hand went to his wound. His eyes were darting all around the area while he grit his teeth. That bastard he brought company. Mizuki's teeth grinding grew louder and louder until he turned his head back to face Naruto. Who else did you bring out here with you, brat? Naruto smirked in response. Just a few friends that were looking forward to kicking your ass with me. On cue with his words, Hinata and Shikamaru came out of hiding. They jumped down from their positions in nearby trees and landed side by side to Naruto. Hinata landed with her Byakugan activated while Shikamaru looked noticeably focused. So that's how you went about this, huh? The traitor mumbled in anger. You've been playing with me this whole time, haven't you? This is all some game to you. This is how you treat someone who said they'd promote you. Just drop it, Mizuki. Naruto shouted back, his eyes narrowing on the chunin. There was something fishy with your offer, and you even admitted that you had no intention of promoting me. This was a setup for me, so I'm just turning the tables on you. And I have some backup with me to make sure you get rightfully taken down. Mizuki's eyes moved from Naruto to Hinata to Shikamaru. He continued to grind his teeth while he tried to take a deep breath. Relax, Mizuki. It's just 3 genin. You can easily kill all 3 of them. Just calm down and focus. As he took another deep breath, his eyes widened as an idea came across to them. Or why don't I try and have some fun when I kill them? Turn them against one another, and then pick them off. Brought your best friends with you, I see. Your best friends in the whole village, huh? Your only friends. Mizuki noted, chuckling. The genin's eyes narrowed in response, but before they could react, he continued to speak. But maybe they wouldn't be your friend if they knew the full truth about everything. He then brought his hand to his chin in exaggerated thought. Wonder if I should tell them. Truth? Shikamaru's eyes narrowed further. What are you talking about? Ever wonder why everyone hates your little blonde bestie? Mizuki asked, his chuckling turning into laughter. Because no one hates a kid for no reason. There has to be one. It's your generation doesn't know the truth, since the Sandaime made the law 13 years ago. You don't even know. But if you all did know. Law? What law? Hinata bit her lip in response. What nonsense is he going to say? What is he going to say about Naruto-kun? He's trying to psych Naruto out. Shikamaru noticed, a scowl forming on his face. Get him distracted or disturbed and somehow turn myself and Hinata against him. But how? Unlike his 2 friends, Naruto ended up dropping his guard. He could not help himself. Despite Mizuki trying to set him up for stealing, he was offering information that the boy always wondered about. Why am I hated? What are you talking about? What law? He asked. Hinata shook her head. Naruto-kun, ignore him. The law prevents anyone from telling your generation that you are the Kyuubi, the demon that attacked Konoha years ago. Time seemed to stop when Mizuki's words left his mouth. Hinata's and Shikamaru's eyes widened in pure shock. Naruto merely stood still, completely stunned. You've all been lied to you all your life. The Yondaime couldn't kill that damn fox. The thing was too powerful for him, so he sealed into a newborn baby to stop it. That baby was you, Naruto. It's why everyone hates you. Mizuki exclaimed, pointing at the blonde. You destroyed so much of Konoha, Civilians and shinobi alike, including Irika's parents, died because of you. Konoha has so many damn orphans because of you. You are the reason the Yondaime is dead. Everything that happened that night is your fault, you damn demon. Naruto continued to stand frozen in time, still in complete shock. He has to be lying, that can't be. Naruto bit down on his lip, shaking his head frantically. But some of that it would make sense why so many of them stare at me with so much hatred, why they've always hated me, but why? It's not some lie. It makes sense. It matches everything. Everything makes sense. Shikamaru realized, his eyes widening as he turned to face Naruto. It explains his freakishly large stamina. It helps explains Naruto-kun's insane amount of chakra. Hinata realized as she turned to stare at the blonde. Why he gets singled out by the teachers and glared at. Why he grew up alone. Why he is so hated. The two kids reached the same conclusion. The two kids turned their heads toward Naruto and stared at him for a second. Any fear or ill feelings that could have been within the two were completely eliminated the second they looked at him. Naruto-kun, you were treated so badly by the people around you, and you had to deal with the fox within you, and you still wanted to be Hokage? You still wanted to fight and defend these people? To earn their respect? Naruto-kun, you are truly amazing. Hinata felt new feelings for her crush. She felt even more pride in him, more awe by his kindness and strength, and something more, something she didn't know how to describe. He should hate everyone in Konoha for everything they've done to him. And he doesn't. As a matter of fact, he actually wants to change their minds. Naruto, you are one of a kind. Shikamaru noted with a slight smirk. Naruto didn't take the news in any way like his friends. The boy continued to stand completely still. They really do deserve to hate me. Everything's my fault. I'm just a monster. He reached his conclusion. Now that the truth is out, I'm sure you all won't mind when I remove this monster from the world. Good night, demon, Mizuki shouted as he took his second Fuma Shuriken and tossed it at Naruto. The Uzumaki boy continued to stand still in shock as he stared at the oncoming shuriken. Naruto-kun! Hinata called out. Move, damn it! Shikamaru shouted as he made a hand sign, Shadow Possession Jutsu. Shikamaru's shadow rushed for Naruto's body. As quickly as it connected, Shikamaru ran to his right, forcing the Uzumaki to move as well. Naruto's eyes widened as Shikamaru forced him away from the Fuma Shuriken just in time. His eyes widened further as Hinata jumped in front of them, pulling out a kunai. What are you guys doing? Naruto asked, biting his lip. Before they could respond, Mizuki began to shout. Why are you helping him? Didn't you hear me? He's the damn demon who nearly destroyed the village. He killed so many Nara and Hyuga. The chunin's voice grew louder and louder. You should both hate him. Why are you protecting a demon? You said the demon was sealed within him. That doesn't make him a demon. Only a container at most. He's not the Kyuubi. Shikamaru stated sharply. Shikamaru and Naruto looked over to his lazy friend in awe. You really think that? If anything, he's a hero to the village. Hinata shouted, causing Naruto to turn towards her. He keeps the demon locked within him. Naruto-kun is the furthest thing from the Kyuubi. He's our savior who keeps it from attacking us. Hinata Naruto's eyes started to redden slightly as tears started to form. I thank you and Shikamaru, you have to be right, so naive. Mizuki snorted. Don't think too much into this, he's the demon. And it would be wise to get away from him before you get hurt, while I kill him. Immediately, Naruto turned his attention back towards Mizuki, a scowl on his face as he made a hand sign. Don't you fucking dare! He growled in response. I won't allow you touch them. Hinata and Shikamaru looked back to Naruto and gave a warm smile towards him. They then turned back to Mizuki, ready to strike. TCH, whatever? You're all dead. Mizuki roared as he tossed smaller shuriken at the academy graduates. Mizuki blinked when he saw what exactly his shuriken hit, though. Instead of the 3 individual genin, the shuriken made contact with the 3 shadow clones Naruto made earlier. In seconds, all 3 clones disappeared in a poof of smoke. All 3 genin were nowhere to be seen. They used substitution with the clones the demon made earlier. Back when he was showing me the scroll, he noted. The academy instructor inside him was actually a little impressed with the skilled use of the jutsu and the quick, unnoticeable exchange. That did not change the fact that he was also extremely pissed. It's pointless to hide, brats, 'cause I'm going to find and kill you all, he shouted. Mizuki made the necessary hand signs before turning his attention to the forest around him. Fire style, Phoenix Fire Jutsu. The chunin breathed out a barrage of fireballs into the forest. Nearby trees caught on fire. Some trees were completely burnt in seconds while others collapsed from the damage. Mizuki watched as he cleared the area around him, looking for the first sign of one of the genin. Within seconds, a group of 20 Naruto clones shot out and charged directly at the chunin. More shadow clones? Is it seriously all you can do? You're screwed, demon brat. The traitor taunted as he dropped into his personal taijutsu stance. All Naruto clones attempted to assault the chunin at once. He immediately went on the defensive, blocking them to the best of his abilities. Mizuki was able to avoid too many direct hits while striking back. He was able to destroy 6 of the clones after a few blows. The Konoha traitor noticed that one of the clones was not disappearing. It would keep getting up after each hit, and would charge back, ready to strike with its palms. Guess that's the original demon. Weird fighting style for him, but whatever. It's not helping him any. The assault by the clones continued. As time passed, Mizuki was getting more physically tired. He started to take a few more hits than usual from the clones, including the Naruto that was striking him with his palms. Despite his weakening state, Mizuki was able to bring down the number of clones to 6. It was at this point that the chunin noticed something very wrong with himself. What is happening to my chakra? Why can't I use it? I haven't used any since my fire jutsu. The demon shouldn't be able to do this. Mizuki groaned on the inside. He was getting slightly nervous at this new development. Then, an idea hit him of what was happening. Then that means, before Mizuki could continue his train of thought, he found himself completely immobilized. He couldn't move, no matter how hard he tried or struggled. Caught you! The chunin found his head turning around on its own accord. He saw his shadow mixed with the shadow of one of the Naruto clones. At this moment, the clone dropped its transformation, revealing a smirking Shikamaru. You! The traitor hissed. Didn't notice me, did you? Or Hinata, I'm guessing? The Nara asked as he turned his head, forcing Mizuki to turn his head as well. They were now facing the Naruto that Mizuki originally thought was the original. This Naruto dropped the transformation and revealed itself as Hinata. You knew that Naruto was skilled with the shadow clone jutsu, so you assumed that all 20 clones of Naruto were simply clones. It never occurred to you that 2 of those clones could have been Hinata and myself under the transformation jutsu. Shikamaru explained the tactic to the traitor. Therefore, you failed to notice that Hinata, under the guise of one of the clones, was sealing your tenketsu, and therefore sealing your chakra, with a gentle fist with each attack. You also never watched the shadows, since I was nowhere to be seen because of that. You are caught in my shadow possession jutsu, and you have so little usable chakra that you can't break through. Damn you all! He hissed once again. You tried to mess with me, and then mess with my friends as well. Naruto stated as he walked forward, his remaining clones following close behind. They all cracked their knuckles simultaneously. Time to show you what happens when you try and mess with us. Mizuki's screams could be heard for miles throughout the forest. I might have gotten a little carried away? Naruto laughed sheepishly, rubbing the back of his head. Mizuki was lying face down on the floor of the forest, unconscious in a pile of blood. Naruto and his clones beat down on the traitor hard. The man, while still alive, would not be waking up anytime soon. He would wake up in a few hours later probably, locked up in a cell or in a room alone with Marino Ibiki. If Mizuki was conscious, he would be praying for the former. You might have, but he deserved it. Shikamaru shrugged in response. Right. Hinata nodded her head, looking away from the traitor's battered body. Silence filled the air for a moment as Hinata and Shikamaru stared at their friend, who seemed as if he was trying to come up with some words. After a minute, he finally broke the silence. So about what Mizuki told us, Naruto started, looking downward slightly. Naruto, if you think we are going to think any differently of you just because of the QB, then you are stupid enough that you should have been the dead last. Shikamaru told the boy bluntly. Naruto immediately looked upwards once more, glaring at the Nara. Look, we aren't stupid. We know you aren't the QB. You are just the container, and there's a major difference. You are definitely not a demon. You are way too troublesome, but also too nice to be one. Shikamaru-kun's right. And what I said earlier was true as well. You are the savior of Konoha, who keeps it back. If anything, Naruto-kun, knowing about it only makes me respect you more, Hinata said, a wide smile on her face and a slightly reddish blush on her cheeks. Naruto's eyes reddened once again as tears fell. He had finally found out the reason why everyone hated him, and it was overwhelming to him. He, himself, was starting to accept the demon label until his 2 friends spoke up for him. Just like before during that lecture, his fears of being rejected by them were gone. Naruto almost did not care if he ever earned the respect of the village or not right now. For right now, all that mattered was that he had 2 friends who he would protect with his life. 2 friends who knew why he was hated and didn't think anything different of him. Hinata-chan, Shikamaru, thank you. Naruto nearly shouted amongst tears as he charged forth and tackled his friends in a hug. Thank you. Under normal circumstances, Hinata would have flipped out that Naruto had used the Chan honorific with her, and would be blushing beyond red at the physical contact. She probably would have passed out. Under normal circumstances, Shikamaru would be complaining that he was having trouble breathing in Naruto's hold. He would struggle to get out, and complain about his friend being troublesome. These were not normal circumstances, however. The 2 simply returned their friend's hug, giving him a warm smile. It was almost ironic. Mizuki's attempts to divide the group apart ended up bringing them closer to each other than ever before. Sarutobi Hiruzen smiled as he stared into his crystal ball. After Naruto and his friends came in and told about Mizuki's plan, he had kept careful observation of the 3. He had felt some wariness with allowing 3 newly graduated students from the academy to take on a traitorous chunin shinobi, but he also felt confidence that they could handle it. Something within him told him that the 3 would be fine. Just like he predicted, the kids were fine. They were now heading towards Konoha, holding on to Mizuki's body, who was going to be delivered to the first Konoha shinobi they could find. The kids succeeded in their mission. More than just succeeded. Hiruzen noted with a chuckle. The three genin demonstrated great teamwork with each other. Hinata and Shikamaru went out of their way to save Naruto's life, and the three were able to overwhelm Mizuki with great teamwork. Such is the strategy utilized with Naruto's clones and Hinata's and Shikamaru's transformations. They complemented each other well and were able to take down a ninja with more skill than them. The Sandaime was also pleased when he realized that Hinata and Shikamaru did not treat Naruto differently when Mizuki revealed the news of the Kyuubi. Sarutobi, although a rather smart man with great foresight, failed to predict that Mizuki would reveal the information about the demon to the kids in desperation. For a few seconds, the old man was rather nervous and was tempted to head out there himself to end the man's life before any damage was done. Thankfully, Hinata and Shikamaru took the news very well and actually praised Naruto for being able to be the container. They helped Naruto handle the information as well and not let him get overwhelmed by it. They truly went above any expectations. They were perfect. They worked well together, Hiruzen noted with a smile. They really should be a genin team. The three of them together, teamwork like that is so rare to find in kids so young. It could only get better and stronger as they grow older. I can't separate them, Hiruzen thought. Perhaps Shikaku was right after all, the Sandaime sighed. It would mean more paperwork. It would maybe take a little while to explain to anyone who already knew his original plans. Nevertheless, he knew something now and he was going to go by it. Naruto, Hinata, and Shikamaru had great teamwork together and needed to be on the same team. Although, now I have to think of a sensei for them too. Hiruzen realized with a frown as well. Hiruzen started making notes of the jonin available to be a sensei. Kakashi would probably be an excellent choice, due to his love for teamwork. However, the Hokage felt that Kakashi should train Sasuke in order to work with the Sharingan once it becomes activated. Asuma and Kurenai would also be perfect senseis for Shikamaru and Hinata respectively, but not for the other. Asuma's bluntness and his overall behavior would probably intimidate Hinata, while Kurenai would not have the patience to effectively train Shikamaru. I suppose none of those three. The Hokage thought to himself. Who is currently available? Maybe dash. A knock sounded on his door. A sigh escaped Hiruzen's lips as he shelved his thinking and turned his attention to his door. Yes, Hokage-sama, sorry for coming so late. I have just returned from my mission and I know you wanted my mission report immediately, said the voice from the other side. Now? Hiruzen's eyebrow raised in response. Your mission wasn't critical enough that I need a report this late at night. Sarutobi. Hiruzen's eyes widened as an idea came to his mind. An idea started to form into the aged man's mind. An idea that he played over multiple times to make sure how it would work. A smirk then developed on his face. It's perfect. They're perfect for them. Hiruzen chuckled to himself. Well, it's official. I have a sensei now. I mean, if you want me to come back tomorrow I can. The voice on the other side of the door spoke. Hiruzen could almost imagine the person shrugging. I'll stop by first thing. Actually, why don't you come in now? The Hokage said, shaking his head. I actually have something else we can discuss after your report. The room was quiet for a moment until the doorknob began to shake. The door opened and a single shinobi walked through the doors before taking the seat in front of Hiruzen's desk. What? A loud scream awakened many people living in Konoha. Anyone with good ears could piece out that the scream came from the Hokage's tower. All of them had to wonder though, who could have caused such a scream and why were they screaming? As Yumino Iruka walked to the front of the academy classroom, holding a file with the genin team assignments, Naruto could not contain his grin. His hand instinctively went up to his forehead protector over and over again, almost verifying if it was real. It's happening. It's finally happening. Naruto grinned. When Iruka finally got to the front, he cleared his throat. The 27 academy students all turned their attention towards him. The chunin took in a deep breath for a moment before a smile developed on his face. From this day forward, you are all genin of Konoha. As one of your academy teachers, I just want to let you all know how proud I am of you. Iruka admitted to the class with a smile on his face. You've all done excellent in your studies and training. I believe with all my heart that this may be one of the finest classes Konoha has ever produced, and I can't wait to see what extraordinary shinobi you all become. Nearly every student in the classroom smiled at their now former sensei's words. Naruto was grinning more than anyone else, however. Finally, I really am a ninja now. Finally! He thought to himself excitedly. Now I'm going to start reading off the team assignments. Pay attention carefully, because I will not repeat. Iruka informed everyone. Now, starting with Team 1, everyone tried hard to pay attention to Iruka's words. It proved too difficult, however, to listen to every name that was called. Everyone seemed to only notice when their name was called or when their friends were called. Now, Team 3. Iruka said as he shuffled some papers in his hands. Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto lifted his head up in response to his name, Hyuga Hinata. The chunin continued. Yes. Of all the people I could get, I got Hinata. Naruto cheered inwardly, grinning even larger. I at least got one of my friends on my team. Hinata's thoughts were less coherent, but even more excited. Naruto-kun and I are on the same team? Naruto-kun and I are on the same team. He's on my team. Her rather loud, repetitive thoughts were a strong contrast to her outward reaction, which was merely a silent, but large smile and a red blush. And Nara Shikamaru, Iruka concluded. The Nara blinked. Huh? Fuck yeah. Naruto couldn't hold in his thoughts any longer. The top 3 shinobi here. We are so going to kick ass. Naruto, you idiot, shut up. Sakura hissed. Some of us are trying to concentrate here. Naruto barely even registered her words. He was just too happy to care about anything else. He was on a team with Hinata and Shikamaru. This was everything he had hoped for. Hinata, too, was pleased at this revelation. Although she was still more excited about being partnered up with Naruto, having Shikamaru as the third member felt like an amazing bonus. He became a great and important friend to her, and their friendship was growing each day. If nothing else, she knew that their third member would be something she could interact well with, and not be someone who would put neither herself nor Naruto down. I could have sworn they would have put me on a team with Choji and Ino. Our parents' teamwork was legendary, and I know my dad and Ino's dad at the very least mentioned talking to the Hokage about this. What prompted this? Shikamaru brought his right hand to his chin and thought, maybe the incident with Mizuki? Maybe we impressed him, and he felt we should stay a team? His thoughts came to a halt as he felt an arm around his neck. He blinked as he turned to face Naruto, who had gotten out of his seat and gone over to hug his friend. Hey, you excited too, huh? He asked. We're gonna be the most badass team of all time, you know? I mean, Naruto. Irika's shout interrupted Shikamaru. For the last time, please sit down and remain quiet. Naruto grumbled to himself as he went back to his chair. Despite the reprimand, though, he still had a grin on his face. Hinata, too, was still smiling. Shikamaru's eyes focused on both of his newly assigned teammates for a moment before he turned back to the front of the classroom, a smirk forming on his lips. Well, whatever. Being with them should still be pretty fun. He noted. When the classroom got quiet again, Irika continued reading off names, moving faster through the next 3 teams without much event. Team 7, Inuzuka Kiba, Haruno Sakura, and Uchiha Sasuke. He read. Team 8. Hell yeah, hell no. Sakura's and Ino's simultaneous shouts caused everyone to turn their attention towards them. Sasuke's eye twitched momentarily in response to the noise, but that was his only noticeable reaction to the team assignment. You got to be fucking kidding me. I got to work with that jackass? Kiba groaned as he placed his head on his desk. And Sakura would be fine by herself, but with Sasuke? This sucks. Akamaru whined in sympathy as the Niken jumped off his spot on Kiba's hoodie onto the desk and gave his partner a gentle lick to his face. The tension began to ease in the Inuzuka's body language, but he still laid down, unable to look up. After another lecture from Irika about interrupting him, resulting in a sheepish look from Sakura and a deep scowl from Ino, the classroom quieted down as Irika went to the end of his list. And finally, Team 10, Yamanaka Ino, Akimichi Choji, and Aburame Shino. He stated, not only do I get separated from Sasuke-kun, but you're putting me with Food Boy and Bug Boy too? Ino, once again, shouted. That's not fair. Stop shouting. You haven't been dismissed yet. Irika, for the 3rd time, shouted, his eyes twitching so badly that they threatened to escape his head entirely. This time, Ino had the decency to look a little bashful about her outburst. The Yamanaka huffed to herself, turning to look outside the classroom window. That's got to be rough. Shikamaru mumbled as he turned to face Choji. Choji gave his friend a sad smile. I'm not going to lie. A little jealous of you all. Hinata's smile immediately faded as she bowed her head. I'm sorry, Choji-kun. Yeah, same. I really wish we could have just been a 4-man squad. Naruto noted, rubbing the back of his head as a frown crept onto his face as well. You all don't need to be sorry, the Akimichi said with a sigh. He was quiet for a moment as he reached into his bag of chips and pulled out a handful. After quickly eating them, a small smile developed on his lips. You know, I don't know Shino very well, so maybe he's good to be with. And while Ino says things like that, well, our dads are best friends, so maybe we'll get closer. I'm sure they'll be good to work with. Hinata nodded her head in agreement. Yeah. At least Shino should be. He's supposed to be super smart, right? Naruto noted before he turned to look at Shikamaru. Almost as smart as you, right? The Nara shrugged his shoulders in response before he focused on his best friend. You want to meet up after all of this? Cloud watching or something? Discuss how the team things go? He asked. Choji's smile widened a little bit more as he nodded his head in agreement, which in turn caused Shikamaru to smirk back, the two now formally affirming that their friendship will not end here. A few more moments passed while Irika waited for the class to fully quiet down. With the chunin now calmed down from his previous shouting sessions, a small smile developed on his lips as he turned to address the graduates. Now that you all know your teams, you are free to take an hour break for lunch. You will come back here to meet up with your Jonin sensei, in which case you will be under their care. He noted. So, for the last time, coming from me, at least you all are dismissed. Don't leave just yet, you little brats. Just as the students were all about to leave the room, they were stopped by a rather loud, powerful voice that was seemingly being amplified via chakra. Before anyone could ask about who was speaking, a black banner flew through one of the academy windows. When the banner reached the center of the room, a figure jumped out from behind it and threw kunai at its edges, pinning it to both the floor and the ceiling. The entire banner could now be seen, and the words "the sexiest and strongest sensei in all of Konoha" were visible to all. Now standing directly in front of the banner was a purple-haired woman who tied her hair up in a spiky ponytail. She was wearing a large tan coat over mesh armor that did little to hide her figure, and an orange skirt. She wore a pair of shin guards and also had a pendant worn around her neck. "You're all looking at the sensei to Team 3, Mitarashi Enko." The woman introduced herself to everyone, a large, almost insane grin on her face. "Now, Uzumaki Naruto, Hyuga Hinata, and Nara Shikamaru. We will begin our meeting and discuss protocol. Let's go." The room fell into silence. Nearly every student was gawking at the woman standing in front of them in surprise, annoyance, or fear. Hinata couldn't help but fall in the last category. That's our sensei? She's oh dear. Naruto, in contrast, was probably the only person in the room staring at her in amazement. "She's our teacher, huh? That entrance was so cool. This is going to rock." Shikamaru's thoughts were extremely simple compared to everyone else. "She's troublesome. Very, very troublesome." A sigh escaped his lips. "This is gonna suck. Enko-san, right?" Iruka spoke up, causing the woman to turn to face him. "You do realize that the genin are allowed a lunch break, right? The meeting with their sensei isn't until an hour from now after that is over." The woman immediately began to sweat in response. "Well, you see, I decided I was going to take my kids out to lunch instead. It would kill two birds with one stone, their lunch break and our meeting, and it would be a good way to get to know them. After all, it's the duty of the sensei to take care of their kids and shit, so what better way to start than by taking care of their meals? Am I right?" she asked with a laugh as she rubbed the back of her head sheepishly. "Right?" This only caused Shikamaru to sigh again. "Oh god, and she's just like Naruto." "Very well." Iruka mumbled before clearing his throat. "Alright then. Team 3, you'll report to your Jonin sensei directly. The rest of you, be back here in 1 hour." Enko sighed in relief, feeling as if she nailed her excuse, before turning her attention towards her students. "Alright brats, follow me. Lunch is waiting." With those words, she proceeded to run over to the window that she had broken, and jumped right out. Naruto, Hinata, and Shikamaru rushed over to the broken window as well and looked down, seeing their sensei on her feet, brushing off some dust on her coat. She then looked back up, making eye contact with the trio. "I'm not gonna wait all day. Get your asses down here!" she shouted. "Don't have to tell me twice," Naruto said with a grin as he jumped out of the window as well. Wait for us, and Naruto-kun," Hinata shouted as she followed him out the window. Shikamaru blinked for a second as he wrestled with the idea of just ignoring whatever happened and going home. Unfortunately, he felt as if his mother would probably slap him for skipping on his first real day as a genin. This is such a drag. It's way too early for this shit. He grumbled as he finally followed his teammates and jumped out the window. "Wait, this is supposed to be lunch?" Naruto nearly shouted. Once the trio of genin had caught up to their sensei, Mitarashi Enko dragged them over to a food stand of her choosing, a sweets and dango shop called Dangoya. Shortly after arriving and getting seats, the three genin quickly realized there was nothing but desserts on the menu. The worker took Enko's order and the genin, all feeling out of their depth, simply placed the same order as her. "I actually haven't ever had dango before," Hinata admitted. "Same, but like it's just a treat, isn't it? It's not supposed to be a meal or anything," Naruto stated, crossing his arms. "Sensei, why take us somewhere like this for lunch? The prices also weren't really cheap either, so this can't be a money thing," Shikamaru added, rolling his eyes slightly. "So what gives? I love how this place just smells like dango all day." Enko sighed in contentment, not even registering her students' complaints. Sensei?" Hinata asked. "I think the menu's a little bigger too. I have to try some of newer options too." A little bit of drool began to come out of the side her lips. "God, I hate when missions take me away from here, but the first order after coming back is just so worth it. Hey! Sensei!" Naruto shouted. The blonde's loud voice was enough to snap her away from her thoughts. Enko shook her head for a second and rubbed away the drool from her lips before turning to face her students. "No need to shout, I'm right here," she hissed. "Now what do you want? What do we want?" Shikamaru blinked in response. "Shouldn't we be going over team protocol or something? It's what you said we'd be doing when you picked us up." "Yeah, but I was gonna do that after we eat." Enko abruptly stopped her thought as she began to think about the time. She shrugged her shoulders. I guess it's fine. By the time we finish it, we'll have our plates." "Okay." Naruto nodded his head in understanding. "So, what do we do?" "Well, team introductions would probably be a great start," she stated. "We already know each other." Shikamaru replied with a sigh. "Very well, I might add. Yeah, and I don't know shit about you all other than what Iruka would tell me." The purple-haired woman rolled her eyes. "Introduce yourselves to me then. Tell me about yourselves." What do you want to know, sensei?" Hinata asked. Enko immediately brought her hands together and stared into Hinata's eyes. "Your life story. Every detail. Don't lie to me about anything in it. I hate liars." "Eep." The Hyuga shuddered in response, nearly falling out of her seat. "Ha. Ha ha." Enko immediately started to laugh in response as she shook her head. Nah, I'm fucking with you. Just tell me the basics. Name, things you like and dislike, hobbies, dreams. The general icebreaker shit. She finally stopped laughing and while her gaze softened, she still remained focused on the girl. How about you go first? Okay. Hinata took in a deep breath as she began to poke her index fingers together. My name is Hyuga Hinata. I like spending tea time with my friends. I also like cinnamon rolls. I dislike people who are rude to others, and some of my clan's traditions. My hobbies are tea training and spending time with my friends and flower pressing. She paused for a moment. My dream I guess I wouldn't mind having a family one day. She began to blush heavily as she took a glance towards Naruto's direction, who seemingly did not notice. She took in another deep breath before she turned her head away and the blush began to fade. But before that, I want to be a strong clan head and ninja tea that can fix the problems in the Hyuga clan. Yup, that report was right. She's got a crush on the QB boy. Cute. Anko chuckled to herself. But wants to change things in her clan, huh? She's definitely not a strong-willed type of person, so that's a pretty challenging and remarkable girl for her. Well, thanks a lot, Stutters-chan. Anko said, smiling. Hinata blinked in response. Stutters-chan? You were stuttering really badly, so that's what I'm going to call you from now on until you fix that. She explained, her smile not faltering. Fix it? Hinata's eyes widened. Hey! Don't make fun of Hinata-chan. She's just probably intimidated by how weird you are. Naruto shouted at the woman, defending his friend. Be quiet, Whiskers. Anko rolled her eyes. If you want to talk so much, why don't you introduce yourself? Whiskers? Naruto repeated the name with a scowl. Don't you know our names? I do, but I like giving nicknames, especially to little bratty genin who don't follow orders. She replied with a smirk. So, your turn, Whiskers. His scowl deepened for a moment before he sighed. My name's Uzumaki Naruto. I like spending time with my friends, training with the Nara clan, and learning new jutsu. I also like ramen, especially miso ramen. I hate the time it takes for ramen to cool down, and arrogant bastards who think they are better than everyone else like that bastard, Sasuke. Naruto said, my hobbies are training, pranking people, and gardening. And my dream is to become the greatest Hokage. That way I can earn the people's respect in this village, and not be looked down on like I'm something else. Earn the people's respect, huh? That's probably going to be difficult, Anko noted, resisting the urge to frown. But I guess there's no harm in dreaming big, and this kid's clearly got high aspirations. Hokage, huh? Well, nice to meet you officially, Whiskers. She stated. Naruto's eye twitched in response, but before he could shout back, she turned her attention to the last student. And now you? Shikamaru's only response was to sigh. Anko looked at him for nearly a minute, waiting for him to say anything, before he finally rolled his eyes and began to speak. Name's Nara Shikamaru. He said. I like being with my friends and doing things that don't require much effort. I don't like doing most things and things I find troublesome. Hobbies are cloud watching, stargazing, playing shogi, and sleeping. My dream is to become an average ninja and have a wife that's neither pretty nor ugly and have 2 kids, a daughter and a son. I'll retire when my children become successful shinobi of their own and live the rest of my days playing shogi and watching clouds until the day I die, before my wife. All Anko could do was blink in response. She stayed in silent thought for nearly 2 minutes, processing her feelings on that answer, before she decided to simply glare at the boy. Lazy ass? She said. The Nara blinked in response. What? You complained about doing this intro for me. You hate doing things with effort, and you seem to have gone out of your way to have the most basic dream imaginable. Because thinking of something more interesting would have required work, wouldn't it? She scoffed. You're a lazy ass, thus you are now lazy ass. Immediately, all of Naruto's and Hinata's bad feelings about their own nicknames went away. The Uzumaki was laughing extremely loudly and nearly fell out of his seat at the cart. Hinata, meanwhile, was trying her hardest to contain her own laughter to not offend Shikamaru. Unfortunately, she couldn't fully contain it, and a single giggle escaped her lips. What a pain. Shikamaru scowled. All of you. Well, regardless of that, thanks for sharing. Now, since you all introduced yourselves, it's only fair I do the same. Listen well, brats. Anko started as she brought her right hand to her chest. I'm Mitarashi Anko. I'm a Tokubetsu Jonin and serve as the second in command in the torture and investigation department. I like dango, tea, sake, traveling, training, and working at the tea department. I dislike spicy foods and I hate people who take things too seriously. A scowl then formed on her face. I also hate a certain snake I've met in my life. Her students immediately blinked in response. The moment Snake escaped Anko's words, a large amount of killing intent began to leak out of her body, paralyzing them. A few seconds passed by in the painful silence before the killing intent dropped, and their sensei's mood went back to normal. My hobbies include hosting tea ceremonies, training my ass off, and torturing detainees. She said. And my dream, well, I have 3 actually. First is to kill that snake I mentioned. Second is to make sure I can keep my friends safe and protected. And third is just simply enjoy life. That I agree. Hinata said with a smile, focusing on the end of her sensei's speech. I also want you to keep my friends safe. If your hobby is training your ass off, then we'll get along just fine, Enko-sensei. Naruto added, a grin forming on his face. Are we all just going to gloss over the killing intent from a moment ago? Shikamaru asked, looking at his teammates with a confused look. Also the fact that she said torturing was a hobby of hers? Well, now that we know each other, let's get straight to the business part. The purple-haired woman stated, and we're just going to ignore all of that. Cool. Cool. The Nara sighed. Anyway, let's just get the worst part over with this. You three technically aren't genin. Anko said. What? That makes no sense. Naruto shouted. We passed the stupid test, so that makes us genin. Anko snorted in response. That test is bullshit. It's like a pre-test to make sure you guys are good enough to be genin. Basically, tomorrow you all have to take another test that has a 33% pass rate. Fail and get sent back to the academy. Are you as serious? Hinata asked. Dead serious. The Tokubetsu Jonin replied. The three genin all grew silent as their own thoughts began to race. Shikamaru was groaning about the thought of another test, Hinata was worried about failing and disappointing her father, and Naruto was scared of not being able to become a genin. Anko seemed completely oblivious to her students' frustrations. As soon as she informed them of the second test, the attendant finally came back with their plates of dango. Immediately, her drool returned as she grabbed the first serving of dango on her own plate. Food's here. Yes. She shouted in joy as the plates were put on the table. Let's leave the test discussion until after we finish lunch. The purple-haired woman did not wait for her students to respond and began scarfing down her dango. The three students all blinked in response before they all quietly reached for their own portions, their minds too focused on her earlier words to properly communicate. When lunch was over, Anko told the students to meet her at Training Ground 17 tomorrow at 8 o'clock for their second exam. After that, she left for the Konoha tea department to get to some assigned work. A couple of screaming victims later, she hurried over to a nearby bar alongside her friend and boss, Marino Ibiki. The two did not speak until they placed their order and continued to remain quiet until the first round of drinks came out. Both immediately reached for their newly brought cups of beer and chugged the entire thing. They then sighed in relief as the bartender knowingly took the empty cups and proceeded to get their next drinks. God, I needed that. Anko mumbled to herself. One of those days, Ibiki asked. Yup. She sighed, relaxing further into her seat. You too? Today was easy. Too easy. He said. It is obviously in Konoha's best interest for us to gather our information easily, but I need someone who is more of challenge to break. What about that new prisoner? Mizuki, wasn't it? Anko asked. Was he boring to work with? To be determined. He's apparently still unconscious. The medics believe he'll wake up soon and I'll get to work on him, but it's probably going to be another few days. Ibiki sighed. Incidentally, I was told that the reason he's currently knocked out is thanks to the group of brats you have. I heard that too. Anko shrugged her shoulders. The bartender came back over, this time bringing an ornate blue bottle of sake and 2 shot glasses. Anko's eyebrows raised as Ibiki reached for the sake glass and began to pour into her cup first. Thought we were doing another beer round. She noted. What's the occasion? 'Cause that bottle looks way too expensive for just a casual round of drinks. You're forgetting I make more than you. Ibiki reminded. Anko raised her middle finger in response, earning a scoff from the man as he finished pouring her drink and moved on to his own cup. But yes, consider this me treating you as a sort of congratulations on your new assignment as a Jonin sensei. I know your availability to work in tea is going to change drastically, so I wanted to treat you at least once to something more high grade than usual. My, how considerate. Anko snorted in response as she picked up her shot glass. She held it out from her eyes focused on the liquid. Course, that's all assuming I end up passing these brats. They took down a chunin-ranked shinobi on their own before officially becoming genin. Ibiki reminded as he finished his pour, they're going to pass. Anko hummed for a second as she took her first sip of the cup. You know, no matter how good they supposedly are, I'm the one who decides if they pass. You're not the kind of person who'd fail them on purpose. Ibiki said. You sure about? She asked. 'Cause I definitely do not want to be Jonin babysitter for an indefinite amount of time. Ibiki's eyes narrowed. Then if you do fail them, I'll have severely misjudged your character. Anko's only response was to finish her drink, opting to chug the remaining sake in her cup. She then reached for the bottle and poured herself another drink, doing her best to ignore her friend's glare. She brought the cup back to her lips once more before she finally acknowledged his disapproval and sighed, bringing her drink back to the table. Look, I'm sure they're great kids. The sweetest kids. The ones with the most potential. They'll do great work in a few years. Whatever. She crossed her arms. Just why does it got to be me assigned to them? Seriously. Why me? Anko bit down on her lip hard at thought as she recalled her conversation with the Hokage where he told her that team he chose for her was one that could only flourish under her guidance. Every counterargument went over his head. The fact that she's not good with kids? Did not matter. The fact that she was only a Tokubetsu Jonin and not a regular Jonin? She wouldn't be the first, according to him. The fact that she did not have the time or motivation to just wait around babysitting genin for years. Oh, I'm sure they'll be chunin very quickly was the only response he gave to that. The fact that her only reference for what a Jonin sensei was supposed to be like was her former sensei. The Sandaime looked sympathetic in response, but he still brushed it off. Then you know exactly the type of person you do not want to be like. In the end, it all went back to one singular idea he kept repeating. Only you can train these three to their truest potential. Only me? Bullshit. She grumbled. What was that? Ibiki asked. Nothing. Nothing. Anko sighed as she propped herself up to look at her friend in the eye properly. Look, I'm not in the mood for a lecture. I'm just pissy and complaining. I'm not going to intentionally fail the brats. Okay. Ibiki nodded his head in approval as he took a sip of his own sake. It was never in my intentions to give you one, but it does seem like you need to work out some of your grievances. Yeah? We'll see. She shrugged her shoulders as she took a sip from her drink as well. Regardless of what happens, you know my door is open should you need to rant. And your job in the tea department is still yours no matter what, he said with a scoff. God knows the headache you'd give me if I tried to replace you. Headache? I'd kill you if you even considered anyone else, Anko said with a smirk. Ibiki's eyebrow raised slightly. Go ahead and try if you'd like. We'll see what happens. Anko's smirk only widened in response, which prompted Ibiki to smirk back as well as he raised his sake cup. Anko raised hers as well as they both took another sip of their drink. The two continued to drink long into the night. Anko could not recall how long, but despite the head-splitting hangover she woke up with the next day, she appreciated Ibiki and the long night of drinking before she dived headfirst into her time as a Jonin sensei. Hinata woke up feeling more anxious than usual. Sleep had done very little in quelling her worries and, to be frank, it was a surprise to her that she was even able to fall asleep last night in the first place. The girl could barely think straight as she got dressed for the day and gathered her belongings and weapons. All she could focus on was the upcoming test. Sensei never said too much about it. Only the time and place of it. I wonder what it could be on, Hinata mumbled to herself as she rushed out of her room. There's nothing we really could be tested on other than maybe combat? She bit her lip slightly. We're all taking the same test, right? Does that mean if I fail, then both Naruto-kun and Shikamaru-kun would fail? A shiver went down her spine as she shook her head, pushing those thoughts away. No, I can't let that happen. They need to pass. I need to pass. The Hyuga rushed to the main family compound's dining area and had a brief breakfast before leaving. As she neared the exit to the compound, she passed by her father, who was walking into the building. Ah. She stiffened slightly before bowing her head. Gee, good morning, father. Hinata. Hayashi nodded his head in acknowledgement. You are leaving somewhere? She nodded her head back in response. Yes. I have tea too. Hinata's words died on her lips as she noticed the small frown on her father's face beginning to form. Her hands tightened into fists as she shook her head. Don't stutter, don't stutter. I have go take my secondary test. The one administered by my sensei to see if I qualify as a genin. She mumbled. Oh yes. Forgive me, it's been some time since my own days as a genin that I forgot about it. Hayashi noted. His eyes then narrowed. This reminds me, you failed to tell me who your team was composed of. Hinata poked her index fingers together. I'm with Nara, Shikamaru and Uzumaki and Naruto. Our sensei is Amaterasu Anko. Hayashi's eyebrow rose in response. A random grouping. I was aware she was training with those boys these past few weeks, but are their skill sets compatible? I was under the impression she was supposed to be under Yuhi Kurinai's tutelage in a tracking team. He then frowned again, and the sensei chosen was Orochimaru's former student. Was this Hokage-sama's goal with this team? Father? Hinata spoke. Hayashi's expression softened at the sound of his daughter's voice. He brought his hands together, as he nodded in acknowledgement to his answer. A unique grouping to be sure. Remember that you are a Hyuga and must perform accordingly. He said, do not disappoint and fail the test. Hinata stiffened in response. She was still for a moment before she nodded her head. Understood. Gee, good day then. Hayashi stood still, watching his daughter hurry out of the compound as a sigh escaped his lips, realizing that his words were a lot harsher than he had intended. Hitomi, how were you able to speak so easily with her when you were here? Hinata, meanwhile, felt herself nearly tear up at her father's words and seeming lack of faith. Before any of the tears could fall though, she took in a deep breath and rubbed at her eyes, brushing them off as she steeled herself. Naruto-kun and Shikamaru-kun are taking it with me. I can't fail. We all need to pass. Her hands tightened once more into fists. I won't let them down. With that thought echoing in her head, the Hyuga picked up her pace as she continued on her way to the meeting spot for the exam. Anko blinked at the sight in front of her before she rubbed her eyes to make sure that she was seeing things correctly. Sure enough, she was not. All three of her genin students had arrived early for the exam. She was not quite exactly sure why she was expecting them to be late. Maybe it was because the Nara seemed overtly lazy to the point of it being ridiculous. Maybe it was also her lack of desire to be a sensei in the first place. Regardless, the three of them were already there and ready for the exam to begin. I'll admit, I'm pleased to see you all give a shit about this. Good on all of you, she stated, her eyes focusing on Shikamaru for a moment, and especially good on you, lazy ass. Maybe there's hope for you yet. Both Naruto and Hinata laughed to themselves in response while Shikamaru scowled. Well, we're here, so are you going to tell us what the exam is already, or not? He asked. I'm going to, don't worry. Enko replied as her eyes moved away from just him to the three genin as a whole. So, just making sure. You all are ready for this time, right? Obviously. Naruto stated. Alrighty then. Enko noted as she began to crack her knuckles. The test is actually going to be really simple. It's just going to be spar. You three against me. A spar? Naruto repeated. So it's a combat training. Hinata said, her body tensing slightly. I knew it. You can call it combat training, yeah? Another word choice you could use is survival training, Enko said as she began to grin. I'm just going to keep coming at all of you until I decide to pass or fail you. I'm obviously not going to go all out on you all, but I am going to be evaluating your strength and skills during this, so I'm expecting you all to fight at me at 100%, got it? You need to come at me with the intent to kill. To kill? Hinata's eyes widened in response. Enko's grin widened in response. Trust me, if you don't come at me like that, there's a realistic shot I'll be the one to kill you. So, just making sure, you did say 3-on-1, right? Not individually? Shikamaru asked. Correct. Look, even when I downplay my skills during this battle with you all, you're still going to need to work together to beat me. Otherwise you brats don't stand a chance against me. Enko noted. Now, having said that though, I'm not going to be exclusively grading you all on your teamwork. Majority of the time, these tests are testing the academy students on their teamwork. But I've already been told that you all have good teamwork. So while I want to see you all do some impressive shit together, I'm going to be more focused on just how well you all fight in general and your potential. So we just got to impress you, huh? Naruto noted as B brought his hands together, his left palm covering his right fist. Easy enough. We'll pass this test in no time. Enko chuckled in response. Well, I admire your bravado, but before we all start I should just give you all some advice. There is definitely something you all will need to in order to pass my test. The blonde tilted his head in response. What's that? Survive. The three genin proceeded to stiffen in place as they felt the world around them completely vanish. The air began to thicken, feeling almost suffocating, as an overwhelming sensation of unease surrounded them. It felt like nothing they had ever experienced. Even the battle against Mizuki did not compare to the feelings they were experiencing right now. In an instant, the air turned to normal though as Enko began to laugh. The tension finally dropped and three genin all began to breathe heavily in unison. Oh come on, you all can't get scared that bad from just a little killing intent. That's not even a fraction of what I'm capable of doing. And it's also nothing in comparison to what an actual battlefield is like. She stated. Suddenly, her laughter died down again, and her eyes narrowed harshly on the three genin. Immediately, they all stiffened in response once again. Consider this my first lesson to you three, whether you pass this test or not. Enko said. You all will need to get used to fighting despite your opponent's killing intent. You must never succumb to it. Do you understand? The three genin were still for a moment as they worked to try and compose their breathing. After a few seconds, all three appeared to push past Enko's killing intent and nodded their heads. We understand. Hinata spoke up for the group, causing Enko's eyebrows to raise. We will not let you beat us that easily. Heh. I'd hope not. A smirk developed on her face as the Tokubetsu Jonin as she brought her right hand to her mouth. So one last time. You brats ready? This time, Naruto spoke up for the group as he took a step forward. Bring it. Good. Very good. Enko's smirk widened into a grin as she bit at her thumb, causing it to bleed. She then started doing hand signs. Then let's get this over with. Your true graduation exam starts now. Enko immediately slammed her hand down on the ground, causing it to erupt in smoke. All three genin pulled out a kunai and stared attentively, waiting for their sensei's first move. When the smoke cleared, to their surprise, Enko was no longer in sight. In her place, a giant camouflage-colored snake was curled up. The second it saw the three genin, it hissed and attacked. The giant snake moved faster than the genin could react. It slammed its large tail straight into the stomachs of each genin, sending them backwards and knocking the breath out of them. Damn, that hurt, Naruto hissed in response as he pulled himself up. Well, what were you expecting? We're going up against a jonin after all. Shikamaru said, still out of breath, as he pulled himself up. He kept his eyes on the approaching snake. We need to be careful, Hinata added, joining her teammates. The snake, seeing that the kids were starting to recover, struck again with its massive tail. This time, however, the genin had the chance to react and disappeared in poofs of smoke, being replaced by logs with the substitution jutsu. They then moved further into the surrounding forest around the training ground, creating distance between them and the snake. As the group placed distance between them and the snake, Hinata brought her hands together and activated her Byakugan. A frown developed on her face. The snake is already after us. It's getting close. She noted. Getting close, but it's not here yet. Naruto said with a grin as he turned to face Shikamaru. You have exploding tags on you, right Shikamaru? Already ahead of you. Shikamaru chuckled as he reached into his bag and pulled out a few tags. I can get these set up for when the snake comes after us. We just need to lead it into the trap and then I'll activate the tags. After that, we just pound on it until it's taken out. We don't have much time before it's here. Hinata warned, Go get the trap as set up quickly. Shikamaru nodded his head and the three friends came to a halt, standing in the center of a clearing. Shikamaru quickly set up 4 tags on a nearby tree while before jumping behind a separate tree. Naruto and Hinata, meanwhile, remained out in the opening in the clearing as Naruto brought his hands into a hand sign. It's here! Hinata shouted. Shadow clone jutsu. On cue with the snake grinning into the clearing, smoke filled the area. When it subsided, Naruto and Hinata were now joined by 20 shadow clones. 5 of the clones immediately charged at the snake while the remaining 15 proceeded to place distance, forming a sort of line towards the tree that Shikamaru marked with his tags. The snake immediately rushed into the 5 approaching clones, its head slamming into the first and causing to dissipate instantly while the remaining 4 jumped back, avoiding the attack. They then attempted to jump onto the snake, but the snake turned its body and swung its tail, this time hitting and destroying the clones. Before it could adjust from its position, Hinata, Naruto, and his remaining 15 clones all tossed kunai from their positions at the snake's head. The snake's scales resisted the urge caused most of the kunai to bounce off, but a few managed to impale themselves into the back of his head. The snake hissed loudly in response before it quickly turned its head back to the genin and charged once again, its mouth opening wide. Both Naruto and Hinata jumped away in time. Naruto's clones attempted to do the same, but 7 of the clones were unable to get away and were subsequently eaten. The snake then turned again to face its prey, but the remainder of the clones quickly jumped back at the snake, each kicking it in its body. The snake hissed loudly as it quickly lifted its body up and slammed it down, crushing the remaining clones and causing them to dissipate. Hinata then jumped towards it, her Byakugan flaring as she landed a palm strike on the snake's stomach. The force of her targeted strike caused the snake to growl back as it was pushed back. As it was moved though, it slammed its tail back, which collided with Hinata's stomach and sent her flying into a nearby tree. Hinata groaned as she tried to pull herself up from the attack, her back and legs feeling extremely sore. As she steadied herself, her eyes focused on the snake and its new position. More accurately, she noticed how close it was to the marked tree. A smile developed on her face as she raised her hand upwards. Now, Shikamaru-kun! She shouted. On cue with her shout, the Nara made the necessary hang sign and the tags were ignited. In an instant the snake was blasted by the force of 4 separate exploding tags. The snake was sent flying backwards further into the forest, crashing into multiple trees before becoming crushed under the debris of wood and branches. The snake hissed in pain as it tried to pull itself, but the pain proved too much. As it continued to try and pull itself out, Naruto proceeded to toss a few more kunai at the snake to take it down for good. The kunai all connected with its tail, causing the snake to hiss even louder before it finally gave up and disappeared in another poof of smoke. Hell yeah! Naruto shouted as he raised a fist into the air. We beat her summon. Hinata couldn't help but smile, feeling accomplished from the fight. She pulled herself up from the ground as both she and Shikamaru walked over to the grinning friend. Not bad, brats. All 3 students immediately tensed up as they turned their heads towards tree around the clearing. Anko sat on top of one of the branches, laying down with her hands behind her head. That guy wasn't a particularly strong and I did tell him to take it easy on you. Still, other than just a few quick licks, you really beat down on the poor guy bad enough that he's probably going to bitch about it to me sometime. Anko said with a chuckle. How long have you been there? Hinata asked, her hands trembling slightly. I didn't even see you with my Byakugan? Didn't see me or didn't notice me? 'Cause I've been here the whole time. The Tokubetsu Jonin replied with a shrug, which caused Hinata's eyes to widen. Then again, I was suppressing my chakra a decent bit, and you were probably more focused on the snake. Suppose it makes sense. The Hyuga bit her lip in response. So you've been watching us the whole time. Whatever, it should be you down here testing us and not some summons you have. Naruto noted with a snort. Anko's eye twitched in response, but before she could respond, he continued to speak. So, how'd we do? Impressed you yet? Hardly. She said yawning. I just said the snake was going easy on you. Why would that be enough? A tick mark grew on Naruto's face as he took out another kunai and tossed at his sensei. Well, then let's see how impressed you are with this. Naruto had expected the woman to block the kunai or dodge it. What he did not expect was her to take the hit. The kunai landed directly in her head. Anko fell off the tree lifelessly before disappearing in smoke. Huh! Naruto blinked in response before his hands tightened into fists. Was that a shadow clone? Makes sense she would know it. It's a Jonin level jutsu, after all. Shikamaru noted. Ak. Hinata gasped, her Byakugan pulsating as she now noticed a large chakra presence incoming. She's here. Where? Naruto asked. Hinata's only response was to toss a kunai in the opposite direction that Naruto was facing. The kunai was blocked by a shuriken from that same direction. Does that answer your question? Anko asked in a fake sweet tone as she slowly made her way into the clearing as she extended her left hand outward. Hidden shadow snake hands. Snakes shot up from her coat's sleeves and were sent forward towards the academy graduates. Before they had time to react, the snakes grabbed onto Naruto and sent him flying towards the Jonin sensei. Naruto-kun! Hinata's eyes widened as she ran after her crush. Shikamaru followed closely behind. Naruto gasped in pain as the snakes bit harder into his skin as he was being sent towards his sensei. As he approached her, Enko then redirected her attack, sending Naruto straight into a nearby tree. She then charged at the boy, slamming her fist straight into his stomach. He groaned in pain and barely registered the fact that she pulled out a kunai. She then made a small cut on his cheek, eliciting a hiss in response. Give an enemy shinobi the smallest of opportunities and they'll have you in their mercy. You'll end up in a situation a lot worse than this one, and know that you can't make a single mistake even in a weakened state, cause you know you'll die if you do. Enko informed the boy as she licked the blood of the kunai. So, how do you face this situation, Whiskers? He won't be facing the situation alone. Enko turned away from Naruto's body, causing him to fall to the ground, as she came face to face with Hinata, who had her right palm extended. The Tokubetsu Jonin sidestepped, dodging the girl's attack. Hinata then attempted to slam her left palm into her, which once again, Enko evaded. The purple-haired woman then reached out and grabbed the girl by the wrist. Hinata's eyes widened as she tried to pull away, but she could not break her sensei's grip. I admire the fact that you rushed in to save your ally, but that doesn't always cut it in the real world. You can't just rush in blindly to save a friend, cause you may just end up needing to be saved yourself. Enko informed the girl sharply as she tightened her grip on her wrist. Hinata's eyes widened and an involuntary shout escaped her lips as her knees began to buckle. You need to be more careful next time or else you'll both be dead. I was sensei. Hinata managed to spit out, you should be more careful yourself. Enko was about to reply but was cut off when she lost all feeling in her body. Suddenly, her grip on Hinata's wrist loosened until the girl was finally freed. Enko then felt her body turning until she was able to see the body of Shikamaru, whose shadow was now connected to her own. Hey sensei. He replied. Even though his head was turned so that she could see not him, Enko knew the boy had a smug grin on his face. I'll give you guys this, I didn't expect that. I wasn't really expecting you to actually try and trap me in your shadow while Stutters-chan was attacking me. Didn't know you could make the effort. Enko admitted, slightly teasing the boy in her praise. Her tone of voice then took a slightly mischievous and sadistic twist. But you do know that I have enough chakra that I can easily break from your control, right? And something tells me that unlike Whiskers and Stutters-chan, if I try and fight you head-on, you'll stay down after you're beat down. I'm aware. However, I didn't really intend on trapping you for too long. Only to stall you. Shikamaru told her, his grin still on his face. Stall? What? Enko immediately broke Shikamaru's hold on her through overpowering it with her chakra. She was about to start preparing for an attack, but she was too late. Naruto immediately pounced on her. He slammed her body down hard to the ground and delivered a punch to the face. Enko hissed in pain slightly, but Naruto's only response was to bring a kunai to her neck, the edge of the blade touching her skin. Give the enemy any opportunity and they'll have you at their mercy. Isn't that right, sensei? Naruto asked her, taunting her with the words she used on him. So, the two others were really just distracting me so that he could recover and actually land a pretty damn good hit on me. Not too bad. I see the Mizuki thing wasn't just dumb luck. They work well together, and could do some serious damage if trained more. Enko noted. That's right, Whiskers. However, I did ask how you would respond to that situation, didn't I? Well, this is how I would, she replied aloud before disappearing in a poof of smoke, replaced by a log. I figured as much. Naruto mumbled with a smirk. He turned to Shikamaru, who was grinning in response back as he made a hand sign. Enko was sitting in a nearby tree branch after she used the substitution jutsu. She was watching the three kids, wondering exactly what they were doing. Why are they just standing still? Shouldn't they be flustered or shit? Trying to prepare for an attack? Or maybe hunting me? Why are they just standing still? Enko thought in confusion, still watching her students. She was finally about to give up wondering and just charge at them when she noticed Shikamaru make a hand sign. All of a sudden, she noticed a noise coming from her coat's pocket. She reached in and pulled a kunai out, a kunai with an explosive tag on it. The explosive tag was in the process of activating. So when Whiskers was recovering while Stutters-chan attacked me, he got an explosive tag from lazy ass. He then put it on a kunai and slipped into my pocket when he had me on the ground. Clever son of a bitch, Enko thought, impressed. And I didn't even think they'd be capable of sneaking something like this by me. Enko quickly tossed the kunai before it could explode, but she was a little too slow in her getaway. When the explosion went off, she still managed to get hit by the blast, burning a part of her coat. That's another hit they got on me. I may not be giving near my full strength at all on them, but that's damn impressive. Even when going easy, I should still be too much of a match for most genin. They really will end up being something special if someone puts some time into them. She noted. A chill ran down her spine as the thought echoed in her head, I'm that someone. I really am gonna have to pass them. The Tokubetsu Jonin soon reappeared in front of the three kids. Naruto and Hinata, still recovering from her attacks on them, tensed up at the sight of her. Shikamaru, meanwhile, pulled out a kunai and took up position in front of them, prepared to leave for this next phase. We're ready for whatever else you have planned. Shikamaru said. Is that a challenge? Enko snorted in response. Believe me, I haven't even shown a fraction of what I can do. After finishing her sentence, Enko glared at the three academy graduates, releasing the same amount of killing intent that she had at the beginning of the test, the same amount that had kept the three frozen in place for a moment. This time, however, none of the three appeared to be phased. They were all still in position, waiting for her to make her move. A few more seconds passed by before Anko finally released the killing intent. A chuckle escaped her lips as she brought both her hands to the back of her head. But yeah, anything else at this point would be a waste of time. You all did a lot better than I expected, to be honest, and I guess I'm not so petty to fail a couple of talented brats like you just cause I want to. Anko stated. So yeah, you all pass. Hell yeah! Naruto shouted. Filled with adrenaline, the boy seemed to momentarily forget any exhaustion or injuries from his fight and started to jump up and down, unable to stand still. His excitement was so infectious that even Hinata appeared to be jumping in place in excitement. Shikamaru, while calmer than his other two friends, was still equally as proud as he grinned at the news. From now on, Team 3 is official. You all are officially genin in the eyes of the village, but more importantly you're my team, Anko stated. And because of that, that means it's my responsibility to whip you all into shape. So you three better be prepared, because I'm going to make you all the greatest damn shinobi this village has ever seen. Anko's words only made Naruto even more ecstatic as he brought his hands together. We're going to make you proud, Anko-sensei. Alright. Hinata nodded her head, a sigh of relief escaping her lips. We all managed to pass. I didn't end up letting them down. Thank goodness, we're excited to be here. Together. Shikamaru added. Their mood was infectious enough that Anko, despite her own previous misgivings, was now grinning in pride for the three. She quickly shook her head as she turned away from the kids. Anyway, the test was going to be our only assignment today, so consider yourselves dismissed. This training ground is going to be our designated meeting spot, so report back here tomorrow at 8 o'clock again, then we'll get into our routine from there. She stated. Job well done, guys. Go celebrate or some shit. Naruto, Hinata, and Shikamaru all bowed in response, thanked their sensei, and left together. Anko assumed they most likely were going to go celebrate together, but it did not really matter what. It was not her concern what her students did during their off time. My students, huh? Anko's mind repeated the word choice, a sigh escaping her lips. Admittedly, this level of anxiousness was something she was not particularly used to, and she did not like it. A part of her was concerned if it was even the right choice for her to make. After all, what could she really accomplish as a Jonin sensei? Guess I gotta figure it out as I go. Maybe the Hokage can give me some ideas if I bother him. After all, he's the one who did dump the responsibility onto me, she told herself with a chuckle. She stood still for a moment as she began to envision what exactly she would be able to do for her students. But before she could let her thoughts develop, she felt a familiar presence nearby. She turned to one of the nearby trees and looked up towards its branches. Well, my brats are all gone. You can come out and stop hiding, Anko stated with a smirk on her face. On cue with her words, a woman with long black hair and red eyes jumped out of the tree. She wore a white and red tight-fitting armor that resembled a blouse and had bandages over her hands. The woman greeted Anko with a wave and walked up to her. She responded back with a wave of her own. You've been there for a while, Kurenai. Don't you have your own kids to fail? Should you really be wasting too much time with me? The Tokubetsu Jonin asked with a laugh. Already did. The woman, Kurenai, sighed. I had a team already planned out that I had assumed was going to pass, but then Hokage-sama felt the need to change up my request. Instead, I got a different team of kids that should never have passed the Academy's initial graduation test, let alone the true one. Well, we all know the Academy standards aren't shit. That's why they have the second test anyway. Anko replied with a snort. You'd think they'd try and just make the Academy's test more difficult, but whatever. True. Perhaps a discussion to have with Hokage-sama and the Academy directors for another day. Kurenai noted. A small smirk then formed on her face. You know, I really am surprised that you passed your team. It feels odd for you. Yeah? Anko admitted, still not sure if I'm fully comfortable with it, but I guess this is the way it's going to be. I just need to figure out what it means to be a good sensei. Oh, I have no doubt in my mind that you'll excel there. I think you underestimate your skill and your character. I'm sure you will do a great job with them and help all of them develop their skills to their full potential. Kurenai noted. Heh. Thanks. A smile developed on Anko's face. Don't know if I believe that, but I probably needed to hear that. I'm sure you do, and I'll be here to say it again if you need. The black-haired woman replied. Her smirk then proceeded to widen. However, that wasn't why I was surprised you passed the team. I'm just surprised you willingly are putting yourself in this scenario, you know? Huh! Anko's smile disappeared immediately. Kurenai proceeded to laugh in response, which only caused Anko to scowl back at her. What the hell do you mean? Kurenai was quiet for a moment, as she tried to compose herself. Once her laughter finally faded, she continued to stare at her friend with the same shit-eating grin on her face. Well, you just took up a team. A team of new genin. A team of genin who must start completely fresh in terms of their standing in the village. So, hope you have fun doing D-rank missions for a while. Kurenai informed her friend cheerfully before making a hand sign and disappearing with a flicker. Anko blinked. She blinked twice. Memories started to fill her mind. Horrible memories from her time as a genin. All those hours, those boring hours. The painting, the babysitting, the grocery shopping, the cat. That damn cat! Anko's mind replayed various mental images of menial tasks around the image. The image of her chasing after a cat replayed multiple times. Wait, that cat's still alive, isn't it? It's still here. It was too much for the Tokubetsu Jonin. She lost her balance and fell to the ground, her eyes still filled with shock. No more meaningful missions. Less time for torture. No more fun. More lame chores. More hours of boredom. More time with that damn cat. Anko fumed within her head. Damn it! This is the last time I take up a fucking genin team. What if Naruto reaches full potential in chunin exams? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel. And leave a like if you guys need the next part. Comment down, and thanks for watching the video, and see you guys in the next video.